very slow as cleanup operations continue.
The N4 toll road between Machada Dorp and Belfast will shortly be open for traffic following a multiple vehicle collisions that occurred there around 3 a.m. this morning. The involved vehicles include 2 trucks, 2 minibus taxis and 1 LDV. 2 people were sustained fatal injuries and 1 person escaped with minor injuries.
Justice Minister Thembi Simelane has apologized for taking a loan of around 575,000 rand from an accused VBS investment broker in 2016. The loan from Gundo Wealth Solutions, which brokered investments on behalf of VBS Mutual Bank, was used to purchase a coffee shop in Sandton, Joburg, while she was the mayor of Polokwane in Limpopo. Simelane appeared before Parliament's Justice Committee to account.
Dealing with the tenor in which I was the executive mayor of Polokwane municipality, my understanding was that Gundu is a registered financial service provider. Yes, they might have not accredited with the national credit regulation. I loaned from Gundu, not from VPS. And I regret the harm it has caused the people of Venda in particular, because mostly the beneficiaries of the bank and the depositors were coming from Venda. One would have done things differently, but I had no knowledge of the mechanics of the bank.
And the UN says both sides in Sudan's civil war have committed atrocities that may amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. A fact-finding mission spoke to witnesses in Chad, Kenya and Uganda, but was not allowed into Sudan itself. It said that Sudan's army and the paramilitary rapid support forces have both targeted civilians. The report has been presented by the chair of the mission, Mohammed Chande Othman, who's emphasized the urgency of the situation. He's called for immediate action to protect the civilians.
The gravity of our findings and failure of the warring parties to protect civilians underscores the need for urgent and immediate intervention. Our report, therefore, calls and recommends for the deployment of an independent, impartial force to protect civilians in the country. The people of Sudan have suffered greatly, and the violations against them must stop.
The top story at 3 o'clock, 16 illegal miners have been arrested during a joint operation by the police and soldiers at Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemeli.
Coming up in your sports this hour, Hugo Bruce closing in on Bafana longest-serving coach record. And we also hear from Cricket South Africa's Women's Newcomer of the Year. More details at 3:30.
Life is always good in the top half. However, it requires consistency. That's what the University of Johannesburg and First Touch ladies want to deliver. This is the Hollywood Bets Believe. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ Ladies FC versus First Touch Ladies FC on Sunday, 8 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
I tell you what for you moves the National Pulse. Today it has to be, it can't not be, the position of the Minister of Justice Thembi Simelane as she appeared before the Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services to explain the issues around VBS. That's going to be the big issue. But you have your own thoughts, of course, so you tell me what for you moves the National Pulse. There's also Bafana playing today, a 6 p.m. kickoff. We have Caroline Stein, by the way, chatting to us as part of the fireside chat coming up after 5. Do not miss that. And the SABC has a new national editor. We'll talk to him sometime today as well, all within the show. And you also know that the ongoing China-Africa Cooperation Summit will be crossing to our correspondent there, Sophie McQueen, as always, around just after 4 o'clock. I mean, that's just some parts of it. There's so much more to do than just that. So how do you engage with me? You can call in 086 000 2032. And if you wish to send a voice note, try and limit it to 30 seconds. It helps us get many more voice notes on air than if it's longer. It's 0614 104 107. You can use that same number to send out a text message as well. And as always, you can post on social media. We have some regulars who do that on Facebook, saying, hey, I'm listening, I'm cool, I'm here. Give yourself a shout out. And the same on the Twitter or X platform. But do tag myself and do tag SAFM Radio when you do that. Well, my name is Ashraf Garda. I can tell you now, as we get into the Friday version or edition of the National Pulse, you are an important driver of the show. So let's get to first things first, talking about driving the show. What are the big issues? So the Justice and Constitutional Development Minister, Thembi Simelane, appeared before the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services. That, of course, is to explain the issues relating to the VBS funding issues. Remember, there's been allegations she received like R500,000 approximately to fund, a loan or whatever, to fund a coffee shop that she had set up in Sandton in Johannesburg, in Gauteng. Right. Now, she said lots of things. There was a huge audience, huge expectations, certainly. One of the issues she first picked up was her issue or her relationship with Gando and that company in terms of the Polokwane municipality and how that comes back to her position.
The published allegations are anchored around two questions in the main. Did I have an improper relationship with the contractor appointed by the municipality which I served as a mayor? And secondly, did I receive financial benefits from the same contractor? Honorable Chair, allow me to deal with this question. And the first one, the improper relationship. I did not have any improper relationship with the contractor appointed by the municipality. And let me give the context to this assertion. I will touch a bit on the appointment process of Gundu as the financial advisor on investment decisions of the municipality. Mayors are never involved, or councillors are never involved in procurement. So the work of appointment of a service provider is a responsibility of executives in the municipality. And in this instance, an advert was ran, a supply chain management process was undertaken, and Gundu Wealth Solutions was appointed as the investment manager, financial advisor to the municipality for a period of 3 years.
Okay, so that's the one part, right? She continues saying other things, in particular, and I think this is important, the issue of Gundu's legal standing.
My understanding, which still is my understanding, was that Gundu is a registered financial service provider. Yes, they might have not, as I get to know later, that they were not accredited with the national credit.
Okay, that's the one. And then finally, regarding that loan for that coffee shop, where did the money come from?
Loaned from Gundu, not from VBS. I loaned from Gundu. My contract is with Gundu, not with VBS.
Okay, that is the voice of the Minister of Justice, Thembi Simelane. Now, it's a huge issue, so let's get reaction so far in terms of what's happened today and what's going to happen in the future with Dr. Levi Ndo, who is a political analyst from the Tshwane University of Technology. Good chatting to you, and thanks for joining us on the National Pulse, Dr. Ndo. Hi.
Hi, Ashra. Hi to the listeners. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Right, so I take it that you followed the proceedings this morning, and I'll leave it with you to perhaps highlight maybe 3 or 4 key bullet points that's emerged from it.
Well, the key points have been clearly highlighted by the response by the minister to the portfolio committee. My observation or take on the proceedings is that when you are a public representative, you are scrutinized by many. You get scrutinized by parliament or parliamentary committees. You have to be scrutinized by your party and indeed by ordinary citizens. So the exercise today should not be seen as some form of punishment or an unfair behavior towards the minister. Ordinary citizens in South Africa would love to know the kind of people that are leading them, and if there is some form or any element of controversy surrounding these individuals, you need forums like we had today where parliamentarians will have to ask questions so that they get clarity. Some might have viewed the questions or the session being a bit harsh towards the minister, but that is exactly what we expect from our MPs or public representatives, to ensure that whatever questions an ordinary citizen would be having, they should be able to raise that and we should be able to get clarity. But I need to assure you, Ashraf, that this is not the end of this exercise or this matter with the minister, because she still has to face the Integrity Commission of a party, the ANC. She still has to have a discussion with the president. And indeed, if there is any form of wrongdoing, there would be pressure on her and there will be pressure on the president to act. So we still have a long way to go with regards to this matter.
Fundamentally, right, here's the issue. She may well appear before the ANC's their own Integrity Commission. That comes up next. In terms of the central part is, did she benefit from that relationship linked to both VBS and the company that we have referred to regarding that loan? That means, was it an irregular way of benefiting from that 500,000 plus that she actually acknowledged that she received the money, right? So in terms of that, was she convincing in any way?
It will be difficult to tell because it would appear to me that all the necessary and relevant questions were asked. And the biggest question, in my view, was to find out if indeed there was an irregular activity when it comes to the loan. And what she does say is that, like any other person, she made a loan to Gundo, which this loan has been paid back. And there are only two things, and I always emphasize this. It's either she has done wrong or she's innocent. And my sense is that because there are a number of investigations that are going on, and recently we just got the news that apparently the Hawks had raided the office where she was working in Limpopo. Maybe something else will come out. But on her own, the minister says, indeed, I applied for a loan, I've paid back that loan, and documents are available to prove that. And what I've also observed is that now there is an element of a conflict of interest that some of the members are actually raising, whether when there are investigations, she might interfere with the investigations and so on and so on. But I think it depends on where one stands. But the information that we really needed, she was actually able to provide for us today.
Okay, so that simply was to provide the information. Whether that information is convincing enough, we don't know. What then happens next regarding the portfolio committee in terms of what do they do next after this?
Well, the portfolio committee has actually indicated that they're still going to seek legal opinion if indeed they will need to get the statements from the minister, I think also from the Gundo investment, in order to satisfy themselves that indeed this loan was actually paid back. But my view is also that this is a clear lesson to all of us, that whatever we do, and not only public representatives, whatever we do should be above board, because when everybody is worried about corruption in South Africa and wrongdoing, these are issues that appears to be preoccupying a lot of space, and the public representatives instead of focusing on doing the work that benefits ordinary citizens, there is a lot of investigations that are going on, and that, in my view, is energy that is being wasted.
Okay. Now, just the last thing in terms of where we are. This, of course, is the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, right? Of a committee that she would be directly involved in anyway, right? Then you have the ANC Integrity Commission, and there's always the opportunity, the possibility of this actually being a case in a court of law, right? Then, putting all those three into context, is this ongoing question mark even today, and I see it all over social media and other public or mass media platforms, that the minister should resign. How do you see the next step here?
My view is that she has to go to the Integrity Commission of the ANC, which must make recommendations to the National Executive Committee of the ANC. And there's also another process, that of meeting the state president and explain herself. At the same time, you should expect political parties also to be exerting pressure on her, if indeed they feel that there is something tangible that they could be able to come up with. So, knowing the ANC and how they do their things, they might take time, and once they're taking time, it might give the other political parties the momentum to put as much pressure as possible, because if they find something which they can hold on to, they will want to use it, and it should not be seen as if the ANC has acted. It will be other parties that have acted for her to be removed, if she can be removed or succumb to the pressure to be removed. But my sense is that the time that we still have now, she can still be able to utilize it in order to save a career, or the little time we have also has the potential to have a career crashing.
And therefore that phrase, one day at a time, is so appropriate in this case here. Dr. Levi Ndowith, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us and sharing your insights here on the National Pulse.
So why should I use We Buy Cars if I want to sell my vehicle?
Because We Buy Cars buys cars.
But will I get the right price?
Of course. We Buy Cars buys thousands of vehicles and knows exactly what every vehicle is worth. Their buyers deliver exceptional service and pay you immediately.
And how do I know what they'll pay for my vehicle?
It's easy. Visit webuycars.co.za or use the We Buy Cars app. Follow the simple steps and voila, you'll know your car's value in no time. We Buy Cars. Quick, easy, the best.
They will all walk onto the pitch with victory on their minds, but the final whistle will reveal who wants it the most, who will display football brilliance. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. TUT Matatanta Ladies FC versus the University of Fort Hare Ladies FC on Saturday, 7 September at 11 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
We can simply talk about the song that you love, the song that helps you through the day, a song that might have helped you through difficult times, or a song that means something to you. Sylvia, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Why do you love this song?
I don't know. Every time I listen to the song, it just touches me. I don't know.
Tabiso Sikwane on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader.
SAFM sends its deepest condolences. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, let's talk about other issues. We did mention earlier on as part of our Global Watch that we'd be covering some of the issues in the Congo regarding Mpox. There's been a change of plan just for now, but there's something that's happening locally that's really important, and that's the NEDLAC Summit. And part of that NEDLAC Summit has been the Deputy President, Paul Mashtile, commenting on 30 years of democracy. That's not all. Many other things have come out of it. Let's get the thoughts of Katlego Legodi, who is the SABC News economics reporter covering that story. Katlego, welcome to the National Pulse.
A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and to our listeners at home.
Thank you. So, first of all, just help us understand NEDLAC. What is NEDLAC? What's its purpose?
So NEDLAC basically is an institution of social dialogue in South Africa. We know very well that the mandate is to promote the goals of economic growth, the participation in economic decision-making, and social equity for residents and workers on the ground. NEDLAC established through the NEDLAC Act in 1994, so we see them today marking 30 years in line with the work that they've been doing over time. We know very well that the Act, this NEDLAC Act, requires that each year, Ashraf, NEDLAC hosts an annual summit where the leadership of the NEDLAC social partners, here we're talking about organized business, we're talking about community or civil society, we're talking about government here as well, and the organized labor, they gather to engage on some of those issues of national interest. And we see them today just taking stock of the work that they've been doing around South Africa, this being for the past 30 years. So just a lot of taking stock, a lot of patting themselves in the back, but also just talking about the members of the task that exists, that lies ahead in terms of where we find ourselves socially, looking at the unemployment rate that is high, also the low economic growth that we've been experiencing as a country. So most of them just talking about how they're going to ensure that they work around a social compact that will come through to close some of those gaps that exist in the society. And here we saw also earlier on the Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, delivering a keynote address to those that were gathered there in Sandton for this NEDLAC summit. And he was also just frank about some of the challenges that they've experienced as social partners in terms of ensuring that they take us out of a crisis that we sometimes find ourselves in and the economy finds itself in, saying that there's a need now more than ever to enhance and strengthen this partnership, enhance dialogue where these issues are concerned, so that at the end of the day, people start realizing the work of NEDLAC in dealing with some of those stumbling blocks.
Okay, so therefore, what for you were amongst the key takeouts to emerge from today's summit?
Really, for me, was them taking us back to the work that they've done over time and the wins or the gains they've managed to achieve for the society. And we know very well that South Africa, just coming out of the advent of apartheid, we were actually just seeing a lot of just inequality, disparities where the economy is concerned. And we hear them just talking about policies that they've managed to champion, working as social partners, and government leaders also talking about the work that they also really take away from doing or having to sit down with other social partners, including labor and business. They today gave us a sense of the strength of NEDLAC 30 years later. For instance, during the COVID-19 pandemic, Ashraf, we saw them just gathering to try and come through with a little bit of a net for consumers and workers that were failing to make ends meet, as we saw the economy struggling to move there. And we saw them actually even talking about the latest one being the two-pot retirement system. They're saying that that particular move was through conversations or dialogues that were held on the same table by these social partners. There's also the Presidential Jobs Summit that has happened here, and they're saying that this summit was as a decision from NEDLAC setting up the minimum wage in the country. For instance, the ongoing labor law reforms in the country. We're saying that this is a particular work that has been done by NEDLAC partners over time, but also saying that as much as they talk about issues of gains and issues of transformation, they still have to ensure that this burden of unemployment is a thing of the past, and the economy comes through for you and I, looking at the fact that most of the workers have been struggling to make ends meet here. So this is where then we see the role of organized labor being very important here in championing and fighting for the workers over time, in relaxing some of the stumbling blocks or some of the issues that have failed to see the workers really getting what they deserve over time.
Well, that's very important. So therefore, just the last point, you mentioned there was lots of, patting each other on the back and then being critical. So in terms of an introspection from NEDLAC, what did they say that they've done well, and what do they say about where they're falling short?
NEDLAC really found itself here, Ashraf, navigating the issues of ideologies or the issues of different approaches to some, of the stumbling blocks or some of the raised concerns or crises that we have here at home, saying that in a way the social compact has not come through to ensure. The social compact was introduced, this social compacting was introduced by President Cyril Ramaphosa in 2022, and it was supposed to come through and deal with issues like unemployment, for instance. And they're saying that the social compact has not really found meaning. So they now have to really embrace the diversity that comes from these four pillars of the social partners being and just coming through with some of those issues or coming through with tangible approaches that would ensure that these ideological clashes done away with. But also something that was notable here, Ashraf, was them just talking about a report. There was a report that they've been working on over time with government, and this report was just taking stock and giving us a sense of some of those gaps, that the challenges that they are experiencing over time. And this report, they're taking it now to the government of national unity. And they're saying that in the coming 5 years, they want to see the social compact becoming a reality, and they're saying that it will come through to answer, for instance, to the issue of triple challenges that we have here that have seen people really struggling to make ends meet. So here they're talking about transforming this sector, but also the Deputy President talking about the importance of just coming and being on the same table and dialogue, so that at the end of the day we come through for residents that have been vulnerable, battered by an economy that has not moved for them over time, but also issues like crime that have really regressed the economy, or some of the anticipated gains since 1994, saying that the country is still struggling, especially with certain of these issues. And the coming 5 years, through the work of these social partners and the government of national unity, and some of these issues should be a thing of the past, highlighted in that report that will be handed over to government.
Right, and lots to come out of that. I appreciate you giving off your time, Katlego Legodi. Thank you so much. Katlego is the SABC News economics reporter who's been covering that NEDLAC conference, and as you've heard, the Deputy President himself also addressing it, reflecting on 30 years of democracy. But NEDLAC and that NEDLAC rather, and Labour playing a crucial role in what happens in South Africa now, what's happened before, and what should happen to South Africa, our country, in the future. I'm sure you have an opinion on that. You can call in or WhatsApp anytime. Let's get the news headlines now. It's 3:30. Here's Madubi.
Thanks, Mr. Garda, and good afternoon. In your headlines, a suspect has been arrested after he allegedly shot at a member of the police's National Intervention Unit in Mthatha West in the Eastern Cape. 16 illegal miners have been arrested during a joint operation by the police and soldiers at Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga. And officials in China say they've been encouraging couples to have more children after the country announced that it is stopping overseas adoptions. And those are your headlines. A full news update at 4.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
So it's 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, 2.5 hours to Bafana play.
Yep.
Go ahead, to me.
And we're looking forward to it. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners as well. Today marks 3 years and 4 months since Hugo Bruce has been at the helm of Bafana Bafana as a head coach, and it sees him closing in on the late Clive Barker's record as the longest-serving national team coach. Now, Barker's stint of 3 years and 9 months remains the longest a coach has been in the Bafana hot seat, but Bruce is likely to eclipse this record in March next year, and the 72-year-old says maintaining a winning culture with a cheerful group of players is the key behind his staying power.
But I will not change now. Things stay like they are 3 years ago, and I think that makes it a little bit easier for the players. They know what I want, and everybody, after 3 years, you know each other more and better. But that doesn't mean now that I will, I know you know you can do this or you can do that. No, you have to keep yourself on a certain line, and I think that's what I did here the last 3 years. I never changed from the one way to another way and then straight and then back. And no, this is the way. And that was for me when I started here in South Africa. I said it to myself, look, I'm going to do it like this. And if it doesn't succeed, I go back to Belgium. But I can't complain myself and saying, maybe I have to do it. No. It's a success till now. It was a success in Cameroon. It was also in my previous clubs. So, okay, I'm very happy with that. And I think that is the reason why now we are such a fantastic group with fantastic players, not only on football level, but also on the mentality. But yeah, this is something what I was looking for in the past 3 years.
Well, talking about Bafana, they're all set to face Uganda this evening in the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifier at Orlando Stadium, and you can catch that match on SABC3 from 5:30. In rugby, there's Currie Cup action on the go. Griquas facing Western Province, and in terms of the score, Griquas are leading 10-3. 23 minutes into the match, Western Province have not beaten the Griquas since 2018 at Newlands Stadium, and will look to turn that poor record around in what will be a URC warm-up clash for the Capetonians. Later on, Golden Lions, who are fighting for top spot, they take on Griffins, and that's at 5:15. In motorsport, Jorge Martin topped the times in this morning's free practice session at the San Marino and Rimini Rivera MotoGP. Martin, who's 23 points ahead of reigning champion Francesco Bagnaia, clocked 1 minute and 31.7 seconds. And Martin has also finished second in both the sprint and main race in 4 of the last 5 GPs. Then just wrapping things up with women in sports. Yesterday, Cricket South Africa's awards were held. It was absolutely beautiful, and great athletes were celebrated. So today I'm just putting the spotlight on the winner of the Women's Newcomer of the Year. It's 21-year-old Elise Marie Marks, who joins us on the line. Elise, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Firstly, a big congratulations on your award just at the age of 21 and being tipped as one to look out for the future. How are you taking it all in with your federation just letting you know that this award, they are basically seeing the hard work that you're putting in?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It's really been something that I didn't expect. I just always remain working hard on and off the field, whether it's skill, whether it's in the gym, trying to do some extra stuff. So I've always just put in the hard work, and I think that's pretty much what the award means to me. It's like it's a reward to my success and my hard work.
Well, a big congratulations, man. I'm sure it's a full circle for you and your brother, especially knowing how you started in cricket and how he groomed you. For those that don't know your story, just shortly, can you summarize how you started in cricket and how's your brother's reaction to this recognition?
He was over the moon. So my brother and I started playing in the garden. He was a wicket keeper, and he got a new pair of wicket keeping gloves. And I was just a netball player, and he knew that I have a strong arm, so he just asked me to just quickly throw a few balls to see if he liked the pair of gloves. And ever since, he sort of discovered a talent in me that I didn't know. And then, from there on, he actually told the teacher at school that, listen, my sister can play cricket. And then I played with the boys, and then sort of just kick from there.
Look at where you are. And I mean, I know that you started playing at the age of 8, but I'm also interested in your experience and thoughts about the systems in place to develop young talent in the country, especially women, and also knowing that at the age of 13, you're already playing for a senior team.
Yes. So I can only speak from Dartmouth because that's where I've been from my whole life. It's normally age group cricket, so you start at under 13, under 16, under 19, and then obviously as you've seen a provincial team, which is also now professionalised in the last year, so it's Fidelity Titans. I think you should go through the ranks from where you start as an 8-year-old. I started at under 13s, and then I sort of made my way up when I was about 11, 12, 2016, which the first 16 years was a bit too young. And I was a bit scared as well, but I sort of went with it and sort of just made what the best I could of the situation. And then a year later, age 13, I fast-tracked it first to the senior team, and then they asked me to go to the under 19. So it was a bit of a mix-up, but really a good experience. And I think the new systems and the professionalism that they've put in place for the women's teams now to give contracts out in the top 6 is really something that motivates a lot of girls and females to actually pursue their dreams in cricket and make it a success. And hopefully we will see a lot of more people coming to younger kids from the grassroots level. So now I think it's really, the systems are really in place for the girls to take up the sport.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, we are running out of time, but before I let you go, let's talk about your future aspirations.
Well, like we saw last night, Laura took basically all the awards, and obviously we want to aspire to those things, but it's only an accolade. I'd like to be one of the all-rounders in the country and hopefully help the team one day lift a World Cup trophy, maybe the one at home. So, yeah, very excited.
Elise, thank you very much, and a big congratulations again for your award. I'm looking forward to seeing what else you have in store for us as South Africans, and also just seeing how far you're going to go. 21-year-old Elise Marie Marks, who won the newcomer of the year, the women's newcomer of the year at the Cricket South Africa Awards. Well, that's it. It's actually a wrap from my side for now.
Okay, we will have a Bafana chat proper in an hour.
Alrighty.
Sure.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
A very good afternoon. Very heavy on Joburg's highway networks today. We've got a breakdown already causing a delay on the N3. The stationary vehicle before Giluli's, traffic park to Limbro Park. The Mike 1's heavy from Parktown through to Santon. Crash on the N1 North leading Soweto. That's up by Gordon Road. That's quite a heavy backlog of traffic through there. And another crash on the Mike 1 down by Ormonde. Now that's causing a delay both ways. Very heavy coming from Parktown down to Ormonde and north from Uncle Charlie's. Also a big crash blocking the R59 down by Clip River Drive. That's heavy to the Vaal and heavy away from the Vaal. And the R21 leaving the airport. Big backlogs through Pomona up to the roadworks at the Benoni off-ramp. Crossing the Durban today, we've got a broken down vehicle on the N2. Now this is all going northbound, so it's a stationary truck before Gateway and then a crash up by Sabaya. There's 2 heavy queues to work through on your way through towards King Shaka. A couple of breakdowns south of Pietermaritzburg causing a really reasonably heavy backlog as far down as Umlas Road. And if you're coming out of Cape Town today, the M3 pretty slow already from Hospital Bend moving through to Rhodes Drive. There's been a constant queue of traffic all day coming inbound as well on that section of the M3 up towards the Rhodes Drive junction in Newlands as well. Also a crash N7 South at Fort Trekker Road in Goodwood. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
When self-made billionaire Wilton Knight rescues police detective Lieutenant Michael Long after a near-fatal shot to the face, he gives him a new identity and a new name, Michael Knight. Paired with the unique Knight Industries 2000 aka kit, they are brought in during situations where direct action might provide the only feasible solution. Kusazo Shuba and Michael Knight and Kit are ready to rise to the occasion. Channel your best retro with Knight Rider, weekdays at 12 p.m. only on S3. Open up.
EFC is live this Thursday. The bantamweight title is on the line, live from the World Sports Betting Arena as the top-ranked divisional contenders and perennial fan favorites Faiz Jacobs and Vince Bembe go to war.
Oh, big right for Faiz Jacobs. The finish is over. What a win.
When
when he smells blood, he hunts mercilessly for the finish.
EFC is live this Thursday. Watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to celebrate the rich tapestry of our nation's diverse cultures. From the vibrant beats of our traditional music to the flavors of our unique cuisines, every culture tells a story of strength, unity, and identity. We honor the heroes and heroines who laid down their lives for our freedom, reminding us that our shared heritage is what makes us strong. Together as one, we celebrate who we are because our culture is our identity. This Heritage Month, let's celebrate every culture, every story, and every voice. Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Okay, let's get to your calls. I often ask you what for you moves the national pulse. Now, we know to a large degree the 2 or 3 big issues we've covered right now has been the issue of the Minister of Justice appearing before the Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services. Lots of irony in that. Any thoughts you have on that, you can call in 086 000 2032. You can voice note us to 0614 104 107. You can also send us a text message. By the way, as well, you know the National Pulse now is a WhatsApp channel, which we really want to grow. And for that to happen, we need you to join in. So you may WhatsApp us and just say join in, join channel. And Busani will know exactly what he has to do. Okay, but I want to get your thoughts. I want to get your calls right away. So let's hear some really interesting comments. One of them, I think certainly on the issue that I expected would be the big moving story of the day.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. My name is Elfas Ngobo here in KZN. You know, at face value, to me, the minister's comments paints a picture of a person who is innocent. But I guess the investigations will reveal more. But to me, at face value, she seems like somebody who's innocent, Ashraf. Anyway, enjoy your evening.
Thank you. Well, if Bafana wins, I will absolutely enjoy the evening. And enjoy the weekend as well, for you as well. Right, there's so much more. Okay, so face value, I get that one. Right, there's a couple more similar related
Afternoon,
issues.
Ashrat. I think there's nothing the minister did wrong. He borrowed the money and he paid back the money. And the minister, by just listening to the minister, he knows the dates, he knows what was going on. He asked for advices. He just wanted to have a simple coffee shop to look after his family after a career. So that's it. If the money is even paid back, there's no corruption. So I'm not sure why is this thing taking so long.
Well, I don't know if it's taking that long. I mean, it's only started. Let's be very, very honest. Okay, so you're very convinced that the minister's got it right, that in fact there'll be no issues of corruption, no allegations of that whatsoever, and she'll be off scot-free. Well, let's see what happens, right? The other part that I think I must mention, we can't just simply, it's a simple coffee shop. There's nothing simple about a 500,000 Rand loan. 95% of the country can't get that money, whatever their intentions are, okay?
Afternoon, Ashraf. Ashraf, that integrity committee of ANC is just as good as a bath towel. As it dries you, it gets wet and wet. The more they try to reprimand the so-called members, the more they get into corruption. It doesn't help. They must stop calling themselves integrity committee. They're just a bath towel. It gets wet as it dries you. That's how I can describe it. Lisa from Brixton.
Okay, well, you know what? Thanks for that. But, you know, the Integrity Commission in this case hasn't even met. what has happened today is the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee linked to her own portfolio around justice, okay? So that may well come, but I mean, what do we do then? Just ignore it and say things will just work out, or what? We can't condemn without convicting, if you get my point. Chaka in Bloemfontein, hello.
Hello, Ashraf.
Yeah, good talking to you. Yeah.
Yes, Ashraf, in short, I was listening to the, I don't know if, they don't say the inquiry, but, I was listening carefully. But my own conclusion is that there's no way the minister can extricate herself from the fact that, there's a wrongdoing on her part. The fact will be laid there as time goes on. I mean, it's basically, there is a conflict of interest there. And the fact that the money was paid back, only it was triggered by the report, the VBS report, meaning that that report not being presented, she would have been owing in inverted commas, owing this consultant, these financial people. She would have been owing them for almost forever or something like that. I think she panicked when she realized that things are getting bad. Therefore, let me call it a loan, and then we.
Well, I mean, she's got facts and figures. Let's see. That is why we can't convict right now. There's a process. I hear you. We have opinions.
But analyzing the facts, much still has to be said. I mean, she has to present the memos and present the copy of the loan agreement and so on. But my own assessment is that I think she panicked when she realized that the things are not going okay on the VBS side, and then this makes of a kickback, and automatically a kickback is now converted into a loan or something.
Okay,
I think she'll find it very hard to prove her innocence. That's what I'm saying.
Well, you see, others may say they may find it very hard to prove her guilt, but let's hold it and leave it at that. Thank you for that. Right, let's pick out some further comments. And the issue of step aside never steps aside. It's always in center stage.
Minister Similane, Mr. Ashraf, afternoon, sir. I need a clarity here. I know that the step aside role for an ANC. For an ANC members, especially who are in government. Now that you are in GNU, my question is, let's say for an example, let me make an example with Mr. Steenhuisen. If maybe he found in a wrongdoing, like on his Department of Agriculture, the step aside rule won't work on him because he's a DA member, or maybe it will work. Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's Kanga Shivasa here. What has a Ekopo?
Okay, well, thank you for that. I mean, the step-aside rule is an ANC rule, but there's nothing stopping the DA, for example, having their own step-aside rule. They could call it something else, for example, right? At this point in time, if a DA person does something wrong, they would have the internal mechanisms called something else. But there's also, beyond that, there's also Parliament, if they're an MP, and there's also the rule of law. So there are different mechanisms, which, by the way, the Minister of Justice herself could well be facing as the days move on, right? Here's another comment.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Listen, with this Minister of Justice, there's too many coincidences for there not to be skelmgeit at play here. She got a loan from an organization that had suddenly been approved as an investment advisor, and money was deposited into VBS. Secondly, she's an educated person. How on earth can she go to a non-registered company and take financial advice and get a loan from them? Thirdly, she only made her first payment when the report came out. So if the report didn't come out, it would have just stayed as she was given the money. But because a report came out and she knew she would be fingered, she made a payment so it looked like it was a legit deal. Mark from Cape Town.
Okay, Mark has got it all worked out, and maybe you're right. I mean, there are certainly questions about why would you go to that organization and not somebody else, and why would you go to a bank? Why would you not do that? Why would you not to go to another bank if you need a loan, for example? Why would you do this with the company that she mentioned? Okay, we'll have a chance to play some more voice notes as soon as we get a chance and take further calls, but there's nothing stopping you posting your comments on social media. Just tag us on Facebook as well as on the X or Twitter platform. Just tweet it out.
Welcome to the team, Andile.
Thank you.
What will be your first order of business?
Well, ensuring our greatest assets are taken care of.
Our vehicle fleet?
No, our employees. You see, I want them to feel confident in our company's employee benefits, and Old Mutual Corporate is perfect for that. They take care of everything, from retirement benefits to health and group risk solutions, consulting, and more.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Mzansi, play Powerball for the guaranteed 90 million rand this Friday, and you could win the life-changing jackpot. Don't miss out. Play Powerball now and get in the game for your chance to become the next big multi-millionaire. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
They will all walk onto the pitch with victory on their minds, but the final whistle will reveal who wants it the most, who will display football brilliance. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. TUT Matatanta Ladies FC versus the University of Fort Hare Ladies FC on Saturday, 7 September at 11 a.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
Tell you about Prime Time. We'll chat to Sophie McQueen on the other side of the news at 4, so don't miss that. We'll also be chatting to Caroline Stein coming up after 5 o'clock. You know, on a Friday, we have this 1 hour fireside chat, about 45 minutes, in fact, where I speak to someone and we chill and we talk about big issues and small issues and laughter and serious issues as well. So today it's Caroline Stein, the founder of 67 Blankets. We all know about that, don't we, right? But looking forward to that. However, to get us to that, there's some important issues that certainly needs our attention. Blind SA, represented by Section 27. Well, they're taking the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, the ICB, on an urgent basis to the Equality Court for unfairly discriminating against 50 blind and visually impaired students who are trying to complete the National Certificate in Small Business and Financial Management through the ICB. So what has actually happened? Let's find out with Christo de Klerk, the president of Blind SA. Christo, appreciate your time. Thanks for connecting to the National Pulse.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. Good afternoon to you and to the listeners.
Thank you. I gather that you, representing a group of people, are rather aggrieved. What has actually happened?
Yes, we have these 50 unemployed blind persons who thought they would take this course so that they could get a qualification and thereby find employment in the financial sector. All went well with their tuition. Classes went very well, and they were showing good progress, but their exams and assignments to the ICB have to be done on their online system. For months now, we've been trying to talk to them, trying to get them to have us test their systems for accessibility, whether blind people could use the systems. They refused and said they would do the accessibility checking themselves. I explained that it is not possible for somebody who is not a screen reader user to do that, but they insisted. They then ran some online automated test which indicated to them that the site is not accessible. We explained to them that in terms of Papuda law, blind people need equal access. It has to be accessible. They then said that, sorry, they're not going to do that. It's going to be take too long, it's going to be too expensive, so just get out of here. We tried to negotiate with them.
Did they really say, just get out of here? Did they use those words?
No, they didn't use those words, but that's what it boiled down to.
So what did they say then?
They just went deregistered us.
Okay, got that.
Then we tried to negotiate with them that our learners, they not use the online system, but they have their paper-based system, which they had used until a few months ago before they switched over to the online system. They would not even discuss that. Which means that if our students cannot do the exam, they are destitute, and everything they've done up to now will be wasted.
So in terms of then partnering, if I can use that word, with Section 27, what then is your approach now?
We've launched the urgent application. It was served yesterday on the ICB and on the Minister of Higher Education in the Cape Town Equality Court. And our demands are, first of all, that they must make their platform accessible for everybody, and that they would then also fix the registration of our students.
I suppose, this can't be a new occurrence, right? It may be a new occurrence regarding the ICB, but the issue of, people who are either working or studying who are blind, and therefore whether they intentionally or unintentionally discriminated against, that must be happening all the time.
Yeah, we deal with discrimination on all sorts of levels. We are also looking at, for example, inaccessible banking services like banking apps, that sort of thing. It's happening all over the place. But in this case, particularly, we are encountering a very hostile attitude from the ICB.
Okay, what for you would be the ultimate win-win situation? You may well have taken them to court, but clearly that's not what you really want, do you?
No, we want our learners to be able to write the exams, qualify, and then become employed. It's such a big project for us, and the Facet CETA, whose course it is and who's sponsoring this, had stringent requirements. We had to enroll 80% youth and 50% females. And we achieved that. And we went through a sifting process. We had many more applications than the 50 we could accommodate. And it creates such a wonderful opportunity for these people who've been unemployed, and this will open up worlds for them. But now there is this stumbling block put in the way by the ICB.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we're certainly going to follow the story, and I hope you get the relief that you need, because you clearly do need that, you and the people that you represent. Christo,
absolutely, sir.
Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. The president of Blind SA. I wonder what your thoughts are. You may be aware of the case, but also you may want to personalize it, because, there are so many people who have, some form of handicap or the other, and they discriminated against, if not hard discrimination, often by omission. If you need a ramp and you have a wheelchair and you need a ramp, and if there's no ramp, they're not saying don't come, but they're just making it impossible for you to come. So what has been your experience? People it could be yourself, it could be family members. If that's the case, then I certainly like to know, because that is a big issue that clearly moves the national pulse. Let's get the news now. It's 4 o'clock. Here's Madupi.
Thanks, Ashraf. The top stories. Kwaito legend Mapaputsi passes on, and China encourages couples to have more kids. A very good afternoon. We start with this news just in. Kwaito legend Sandile Ngwenya, also known as Mapaputsi, has died. The 45-year-old rose to fame with his 2001 hit single Izinja, which became a Kwaito anthem and firmly established him as a pioneer of the genre. His energetic style and impactful lyrics resonated with millions, cementing his place in South African music history. He's reported to have been ill for more than a year. An industry colleague, Vusilio, says Mapaputsi died yesterday.
It is another sad moment for the music industry, for us to lose such an icon, especially at the time that we are celebrating 30 years of the role that Kwaito played in our country and the music industry, as we celebrate our freedom as well.
A suspect has been arrested after he allegedly shot at a member of the police's National Intervention Unit, or NIU, in Mthatha West in the Eastern Cape. It's alleged that the NIU member was on his way to work when a suspect known to him started shooting at him. The Provincial Police Commissioner has condemned the attack. Nomzwanele Mngoma reports.
It is alleged that the suspect previously tried to extort the NIU member. The NIU member refused to pay and demanded the name of the person who sent him. Today, the same man is alleged to have shot at the NIU member, who retaliated and wounded the suspect. The man is under police guard in hospital and will appear in court soon on a charge of attempted murder.
Lawyers representing MK Party member John Hlophe have described the litigation lodged by the DA and others as indicative of what they say is a hypocritical crusade against him. Day 2 of the case is being heard in the Western Cape High Court. The applicants are asking the court to review and set aside the decision of the National Assembly in designating Hlophe as part of the parliamentary representatives joining the Judicial Services Commission. Senior counsel representing the MK Party, Dalim Bofu, says the full bench ought to throw the matter out of court. He argues that it represents an abuse of the judicial process. 16 illegal miners have been arrested during a joint operation by the police and soldiers at Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga. The operation, led by Premier Mandandlovu, started early this morning. The police and soldiers have been deployed in the mountains to deal with the ongoing illegal gold mining in the area. Some of the miners have been hiding in the mountains and the disused mine shafts there. Acting Provincial Police Commissioner Zef Mkhwanasi.
We have already have an arrest of about 16 male persons, and we have confiscated some of the stuff as well. But we're still gonna check properly once we finish up everything. But the operation is still on. I'm happy, but the word stopping is not gonna be possible to say, because this thing every time is the beginning. So what is gonna happen is that we are going to keep on coming back until definitely we make them, to stop and all that.
And officials in China say they've been encouraging couples to have more children after the country announced that it is stopping overseas adoptions. China says growing concerns and changing attitudes in various countries about overseas adoptions has informed its decision to end the practice. The BBC's Mickey Bristow.
There has been a real shift in the attitude towards a number of children in China by the Chinese government. About a decade ago, China ended the one-child policy, which had led to, if I can put it insensitively, an excess of children. Parents were punished if they had more than one child, and so a lot of families were simply forced to put their children up for adoption or put them into orphanages. So that created a market, if you will, for overseas adoption, and the Chinese government allowed it simply as a way to allow these children to find loving families.
The top story at 4 o'clock, Kwaito legend Sandile Ngwenya, also known as Mapaputsi, has died. For SAFM News, Kemudupi Makhalemele.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very busy conditions around the Gauteng highway networks. We start with the crime scene on the R59. This is in the Alberton area. The R59 towards Johannesburg is currently closed at Klip River Drive. So there's a big backlog arriving into that. And then if you're southbound, motorists getting caught having a look, and I guess maybe a restriction on the south as well. So closed going to Joburg and very heavy heading to the Vaal around that Klip River Drive exit. A crash on the N3 north up by London Road. That's heavy from Edenvale. Crash crash on the N1 North near Gordon Road, so backlog coming out of Soweto, and a crash down by Ormonde on the Mike 1 South has left the backlog through to Parktown, all the way down through the Crown, looking pretty heavy. Going the other way from Houghton Estate up through towards Marlborough Drive in Sandton, very heavy, and a crash out on Cedar Road at Chartwell, still causing quite big backlogs both directions through there. Breaking down vehicle on the N1 South through Centurion at Old Joburg Road, that's a queue into the Bruckfontein interchange territory. Durban, if you're coming out of Pietermaritzburg, we've just got the one broken down vehicle at Ashburton, but that's enough now to put a heavy queue back as far as Market Road. A breakdown before Gateway on the N2 North through the roadwork, so that's quite heavy getting up through the Kwamashu area. And Cape Town today, if you're leaving Stellenbosch, the R44 down towards Annandale's heavy, the R304 towards Bottleray going north is bad, and roadworks between Bottrafia and Caledon, stop-go controls and quite heavy backlogs that side of the N2. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Life is always good in the top half. However, it requires consistency. That's what the University of Johannesburg and First Touch ladies want to deliver. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ Ladies FC versus First Touch Ladies FC on Sunday, 8 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So we will be chatting to Caroline Steyn after 5. She's almost less of a chat, more than like a coming together as part of a Friday fireside chat. Looking forward to that conversation and the issue of Doctors Without Borders and their concerns regarding Mpox in the DRC region. We'll talk about that coming up around 20 past 4. And there's a whole lot more to talk about. But one thing we've been covering all week is China, Africa, part of that important summit, but it also means that South Africa is present there. And Sophie Mokoena, the SABC International News editor, has been following the story. Well, not just following it, literally there, every punch, every blow, if that may well be the case, and maybe every celebration as well. Sophie, appreciate your time as always. Thanks for connecting to the National Pulse.
Thanks, Ashraf.
Thank you. It's it's almost coming to the end of the week. It's been a hectic week for you, I'm sure about that. What for you were the big issues today?
Well, today the official closing of the summit, and I think the commitment again by China that the country is prepared to work with Africa, but you also know that there are issues to be responded to, particularly on ensuring that as you adopt this approach, you don't see a situation where Africa later years you'll have a problem of being concerned that whatever China was doing didn't really benefit the continent. And therefore I think leaders have got a lot of work to do so that when they tap into this opportunity of working with China, they know exactly what they want, their times and time frames, and also they do take their nations along. It shouldn't be something that's been done by leaders up there and no involvement of citizens of their respective countries.
Did these concerns that you raise, I mean, it's been raised by on many occasions, did, let's say, the Chinese allay those fears?
Yes, the Chinese are fully aware that there are these fears. Before we came to Beijing, I spoke to the Chinese ambassador in South Africa, and I did ask him about that. And the response was an indication that China is fully aware about these issues. And yesterday, you'd recall, even the president of China was talking about a win-win relationship not where the other party doesn't benefit. It must be beneficial for both stakeholders, that is Africa and also this Asian tiger.
Okay, let's talk about some of the other issues. You have news about a humanoid robot journalist. Tell me about that.
Well, I think it's a clear indication where China is in terms of development of technology. They are quite advanced, and you have these machines and robots that can do the work that's been done by human beings. But the question is, as you embark on this advanced technology capability, how do you ensure that you don't find a situation where ordinary people don't have jobs? You know that has been a complaint, particularly when you look at labor organizations around the world, not only in South Africa. But of course, it shows that the world has changed. It's not the same as you know it, because these kinds of innovation, you see that they can do what human beings are doing. For example, that humanoid, the robot is able to have information in terms of different conferences in China, where China is involved, and able to share information. So it's something that spoke to countries will have to catch up with China in terms of development of technology. You had the president yesterday talking about an agreement that was signed by South Africa and China on Monday during the state visit, the Minister of Science and Technology being involved, and therefore China willing to share expertise in terms of science and innovation.
Certainly would hate a humanoid robot replacing Sophie McQuena, so let's not even go there, Sophie. Let's. Can you just imagine? Yeah,
it's happening.
Well,
it's happening.
Let's not get there. Yeah, let's talk about the establishment of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Tell me about that.
Well, this is a big program. It's not new. It has been years where China wants to link Asia with Europe and some parts of Africa, and that would be north. And therefore, this initiative is to ensure that you are able to have easy movement of goods and persons, but also you build infrastructure that will allow you to be able to move goods and services in these three regions, that is Africa, Asia, and Europe. And therefore, China is making a commitment that they will continue to support that initiative. It's quite massive. We know that with the current conflict in the Middle East, there are questions whether you will be able to achieve that and implement that in terms of the targets and the time frames. But that's what China is aiming for, to ensure that it does play a big role in linking these three regions as part of developing a better infrastructure among countries.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like to highlight before we let you go?
I think the important issue is how is the West going to respond to what China has done and what Xi Jinping has announced, because you know that everybody is trying to get a piece of Africa, that scramble for Africa. So I am not expecting countries in the West, your United States of America, just folding their arms and watching what China has done. I think with the US-Africa summit or relationship, you will see America also announcing or powering ahead in terms of the implementation of that program they announced when Anthony Blinken was in South Africa, in terms of how they want to change the relationship to be much better with the African continent. So, and now it's towards BRICS as well. We'll see what Russia and others are going to say going forward, because clearly there's a scramble for resources of Africa, and there's a scramble for a better relationship with the continent, because with the advancement of technology, we as the continent, we have the resources, the mineral resources that can assist countries to embark on that campaign to develop better output in terms of technology. As you know, that we are in a particular industrial revolution, and nobody wants to be left behind.
Absolutely.
Because if you are left behind, it means you won't keep up. We know America is what it is, Europe is what it is. When they did embark on a vigorous reforms in terms of the industrial revolution, and now again, this is an opportunity for another time and another era of industrial revolution.
Okay.
You need the continent with cobalt and many other mineral resources that can help you achieve that.
Okay, I'll tell you what, let's leave it at that. Sophie, it's been great chatting to you in China. And I guess when we next talk, you should be safely back home in South Africa. There we are. Interesting one. Certainly being part of that beat, it must be fascinating. I need to talk certainly to Sophie one of the days about her role effectively being this international news correspondent for the SABC, which means lots of traveling, lots of covering big issues, very, very different, understanding cultural issues that clearly come into play as well. Comments on the China-Africa Cooperation Summit. If you have an opinion, I'd like to know. You can drop us a voice note, 0614 104 107. An update on goings on in the city of Joburg and Gauteng after this.
Amatag's ladies target all 3 essential points to climb up the ladder, but the ladies from eThekwini plan to demonstrate a sense of urgency to move from the bottom half. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Durban Ladies FC on Saturday, 7 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
So last weekend, there was this buzz ahead of the Springboks against the All Blacks rugby match. I mean, the same now applies to Cape Town, but there's also a buzz regarding the Bafana game in Soweto today at the Orlando Stadium, right? Now, central to that is not so much the football, but the fact that so much was done to get things right at around the Ellis Park or Dawnfontein precinct, okay? Now, Panyaza Lesufi, the Premier of Gauteng, and the Mayor, Dada Morera, the Mayor of Johannesburg, right? Well, they've been in Soweto for a clean-up campaign ahead of the Bafana game this evening. The Premier... That's Premier Panyaza Lesufi, speaks about what he, as well as the mayor, have planned for the Joburg inner city, not just today, but certainly beyond today's big game.
The only generation that have to deal with what the executive mayor are saying. We are the only generation where people planted things 30 years ago, those things are getting old. We have to change them. Similarly, the CBD, the infrastructure is old. We just have to overhaul it. To have the capacity, the skill, the talent, and the resources to do that, it will take time. So it's children's footsteps now. We've cleaned the city. We are still continuing to clean it. We've managed to take over the place around Ellis Park area because that's our anchor area coming towards the inner CBD. We've started there. It's beautiful. It's clean. Everyone appreciated that. We've done Orlando Stadium to prepare for the soccer match this evening. So we're pushing towards that particular direction. But the reality is our CBD needs a complete overhaul. The mayor and myself have agreed to establish a joint committee that will assist us to start to plan for meaningful interventions. Where we believe that buildings that need to be demolished, we'll do so. Where we believe that hijacked buildings that we need to reclaim, we'll do so. But that is going to be a long process, but we are committed. The good thing is that we are putting joint resources to tackle this particular problem. It's no longer a runaway train. It's no longer on mobile terms of its own mobility, but it's now being controlled, directed by us, which is very important. And then we're excited that majority of companies that wants to come back to the CBD and those partners that have been in the CBD for quite some time that wants to work with us. So Johannesburg CBD must rise. It must be safe, it must be habitable, but most importantly, it must make all South Africans proud that the CBD is coming back.
Okay, and that is the Premier of the province of Gauteng. Right, comments on any of the issues, Gauteng, Cape Town, the goings on in the Eastern Cape, something's happening in Polokwane, whatever it may be, regarding maybe the minister that we've been discussing. I mean, here's one, Zakele, saying how coincidental it is for the mayor to get a loan immediately after the tender was awarded for the same service provider. The time frame from the appointment of the service provider and the time she received a loan clearly indicated that she's tainted. Sakele has a view. Let's get another comment. Butana, you're in Rosebank. Hello.
Oh, good afternoon, my brother.
Good afternoon. You're enthusiastic.
That mayor was trying to conceal the source of those funds. She used the vehicle. The vehicle was just contracted right there in municipality. And the source of that money is from VPF. That's easy. She took the money of the council and put it to that scheme. She benefited illegally so. And she must be prosecuted. She can't sit there pretending as if nothing was wrong. She laundered the money. She paid that money after 4 years. 4 years. And she paid very quick, within 3 months. If she had money, she could have paid the thing. What's wrong? We are not stupid. And they've collapsed money, all the municipality there in the port. They've collapsed it because of this behavior. It's crooked behavior. She's not suitable to be a minister, Mohal of justice.
Okay. All right. You've had a lot to say. Let's leave it at that. Because, as you know now, she was at the Portfolio Committee today. The Integrity Commission comes up soon. Then who knows what happens thereafter. Then all those questions that you've raised and your point about she's, after all, the Minister of Justice, well, that will be answered, I'm sure about that. Thanks for that call, Butana. Well, I'll tell you what, Butana's got this unique way of saying things. But, I mean, all of you, we engage with so many listeners. And I can tell you now, each one of you, some are loud, some are quieter, some are more reflective, some really want to ask questions, some want to say more than that. But I'll tell you what, every one of you play this role in driving the National Pulse. Okay, let's now talk about something that's really a big concern. Doctors Without Borders are calling on all stakeholders to ensure an equitable distribution of resources in the DRC. As the country continues to see an increase in the spread of Mpox, you may understand that I think with regard to many countries that it seems like the DRC in particular has become a huge cause for concern. You may recall that last month the World Health Organization declared the surge in Mpox cases a public health emergency of international concern. That's due to rising infections in several countries, particularly on the African continent. Well, since the beginning of the year, these numbers certainly tell you something. Listen to this one. The DRC has reported cases of Mpox, and the numbers are 4,901. And then 629 people have died as a result of some aspect of being associated with Mpox. Those numbers are serious cause for concern, I can tell you. Let's get the thoughts of Dr. Agnesi Komeli, who's the lead ID medical doctor for Mpox response in Goma in the DRC. Appreciate your time, Dr. Komeli, and thank you for connecting to the National Pulse.
Hi, and thank you for the invitation, indeed.
Thank you. So you've heard my last points, because, I mean, that really is a big one. 4,901 confirmed Mpox cases, 629 with deaths related in some way or the other to Mpox. That clearly is a huge cause for concern, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Indeed, I've been working in the North Kivu region on the east part of DRC since July, when the alert of Mpox started to rise in the region. Indeed, there is huge difference in numbers if you look at the different regions in DRC. Where I'm now in Goma, North Kivu, the number of confirmed cases of Mpox is still lower compared to the neighboring regions such as the Sud Kivu and in the West DRC, but it's rapidly increasing. Fortunately, here no deaths were registered, and also severe cases are rare. But we are observing a progressive rise in cases, and as you know, probably in this part of DRC, the huge challenge is the presence of the IDP camps, the internally displaced person camps, because of the war in the region. And you can imagine how this type of context is really dangerous for outbreak spreading because of people living in really unhealthy conditions, without water, without access to the basic primary health. And this is to say that maybe in this part of DRC we have no so data about mortality and morbidity, but the risks are really huge. And this is why we are trying to work on control measures, implementation, and containment. A point that for me it's important to raise is that there's no only Mpox. Indeed, in this context, the main challenge is to work on Mpox, but not avoid shifting all the resources to Mpox and forgetting the population's need. They need the vaccination, malaria prevention, care for malnutrition, women's health and security, and those issues are more urgent for the population. This means that it's not easy to work with the communities, because they cannot understand really all the attention we are paying to Mpox, where indeed in this context the other health issues are there, and maybe for them are more urgent than Mpox.
I see. I understand that. What then? Just if we stay with the Mpox theme for the moment, what then are the biggest challenges that the people of the DRC faces as a result of Mpox?
In general, in DRC, if we can imagine to talk about all the country, the problem is really the absence of a real plan for prevention, and I'm referring to vaccination. This is a great point, because they have not vaccination, and there is confusing news about their availability in the short delay, and this is really a pillar of Mpox outbreak prevention and containment.
Okay. Yeah. What about the medical assistance? I mean, clearly where you sit, you would understand that. I mean, do you have sufficient medical assistance or cover to assist the people who are affected or impacted in some way, or are there issues? Are there shortfalls?
Well, in most cases, the Mpox disease is really mild. It means that the patient do not need so much in terms of medication or medical assistance. Is more to avoid complication than follow-up patient, just to detect early the possible complication as superinfection or pneumonia or other type of complication. Then really follow up. This means that we need more human resources than like medication, for example, because we know there's
Okay, well, maybe that's good news. I mean, in the light of what you just said. Well, appreciate your time, Dr. Agnesi Komeli. Thank you for sharing your insights and the concerns around what's happening with regard to Mpox, particularly in the DRC region. Dr. Agnesi Komeli is the lead ID medical doctor for Mpox response in Goma in the DRC. Are you concerned about Mpox? You should. You should be concerned. In this country, around the continent, and around the world, particularly if you're traveling as well. You never know what impact that may have. Let's get the news headlines now. It's 4:30. Years Madubi.
Thank you very much, Ashraf. Good afternoon. In your headlines, Asawa Kwaito legend Sandile Ngwenya, also known as Mapaputsi, has died. The Kaelicha Regional Court has sentenced the man to 15 years in prison after he pleaded guilty to charges of kidnapping and extortion. And All Blacks supporters in Cape Town will be able to see their heroes in action for the first time in about 7 years in the Rugby Championship match tomorrow. Details of these and other stories with Greg at 5.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
It's a very busy Friday for Gauteng motorists. Let's give you the ones to try and avoid. The R59 North closed from Klip River Drive to Swartkoppies Road. That's for motorists driving in from the Vaal. That is a crime scene that's being attended to by the officials. So big delays coming up into Joburg with a route off at Klip River Drive, and then a big delay from Swartkoppies Road heading down, passing that scene on your way towards the Vaal. Crash on the Mike 1 South at Ormonde, very heavy from Melrose. A lost load of what appears to be a soil substance on the Mike 1 North between Marlborough and Woodmead. That's heavy from Melrose getting up through Sandton and on your way towards Woodmead. A crash on the N3 South after Modderfontein Road at Edenvale, queues from Limbro Park, and roadworks on the R21 northbound causing backlogs leaving the airport towards Pretoria, the work zone there just before the Benoni off-ramp. Stationary truck coming out of Pretoria, the N1 and N14 routes are backed up through the Brockfontein interchange as you pass that truck down towards the old Joburg Road exit. Petermaritzburg to Ashburton, still slow after an earlier broken down truck. It has been cleared. Hopefully traffic will start to get a move on. A crash leaving Durban near Pavilion Mall to watch out for. And Cape Town today, fairly heavy on the N2, halfway out to Hospital Bends where you'll pick the queue up. Once you get past Bunga Avenue at Langa, it does tend to ease up. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
So, to me, how do you work it out? Bafana playing today, the Boks playing tomorrow. What are you going to talk about?
Sure. I think I spoke about Bafana earlier on. Let's talk about the Springboks as we wait with bated breath for the Rugby Championship clash between the Springboks and the All Blacks tomorrow. We know it won't be decided at the DHL Stadium, but it could all be over for New Zealand. If South Africa win with a bonus point, they will just need 2 points from their final 2 matches to win the title for the first time since 2019. Meanwhile, if New Zealand lose, they surrender the crown, which they have won 20 times and held for the past 4 years. And the Freedom Cup would also go to the Boks for the first time since 2009. So some great motivation there for the Springboks. Meanwhile, the Springbok women are also in action tomorrow. They face the Barbarians at 1:30, also at the DHL Stadium. The game will be in preparation of the WXV2, which starts on the 27th of September. And Springbok captain Siya Kolisi was nice enough to visit the women's squad yesterday, spending time at their training session and team hotel. And according to Captain Noluboy, she says it was a huge boost for the team as a whole. Just keeping you up to date with the Currie Cup action on the go. Griquas versus Western Province. 60 minutes into that game, the Griquas leading 27-22. Then the city of Paris will honor slain Ugandan runner Rebecca Cheptegei by naming a sport venue after her. She succumbed to severe burns yesterday after being poured with petrol and set alight by fire by her boyfriend at her home in Kenya. And according to Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, she says that her story will help carry the message of equality, which is carried by the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And talking about the Paralympic Games, South African wheelchair tennis star Donald Rampadi says that he's happy to have kept his promise to deliver a medal for Team South Africa with his partner Lucas Sithole at the Paris Paralympics. The duo won a historic bronze medal on Wednesday to secure Africa's first ever Paralympic wheelchair tennis podium finish in the quad doubles. And Rampadi says that the third place finish came as a relief to him. Then moving on to football, Uganda head coach Paul Putt says that the South African Football Association's move to give Hugo Bruce a 5-year contract was a masterstroke. Putt says that South Africa Africa's progress under the 71-year-old aligns with the long-term vision that he presented and was accepted by SAFA. Bruce will finish his 4th year with Bafana in May next year, and during this period he's achieved a fair amount with the team, while now also being in the process of refreshing it.
So I think Hugo has been doing a great job, and he has been performing with the team. So I think he's in a comfortable situation. So that's also important, I think, and that's the most delicate case in African countries. You have a coach, and then you have 1 year or 1 or 2 years, and then it's like this. So I think if you can work, and then you have work on long term, that's what Hugo has been proving with his team, and he has been doing great results with good football. So I was very surprised, and I find South Africa playing very well in the Africa Cup of Nations in Ivory Coast.
Well, here's Bafana captain Themba Mshishizwane praising the coach.
I think the coach has done a lot. I mean, he has bring that brotherhood in the team. He has bring that winning mentality in the team. You have seen all the games that we play. We have a fighting spirit, and he has bring that belief into us that no matter whoever that we face, we can still fight and try to get a win. I think that fighting spirit, and that he always motivates us, a lot. I think he has done well since he came.
And if you're asking yourself about his record, currently it reads 34 matches played, 17 wins, 12 draws and just 5 defeats. And just looking at our television here in studio, it seems like all systems set for this match down at the Orlando Stadium. It's at 6 p.m. It's not looking full as yet. However, slowly but surely those fans are trickling in. Anything's off with tennis. British number 1 Jack Draper is 100% certain that he can reach the US Open final as he gears up for the biggest match of his life against Yannick Sinner today. Draper is 2 wins away from winning a maiden Grand Slam after cruising into the semi-finals of the US Open without dropping a set after an injury hit 2023, which saw him miss Wimbledon. He has been rewarded with a breakout year with the first ATP Tour title in Stuttgart, which changed everything.
Uganda, I mean, we should win, right?
Yeah, we should win. I'm confident in the team that we have. Also, I guess some extra motivation for the team, also knowing that Hugo Bruce is closer to being in there for the longest time. So they'd want to make sure
I
that
can't
they
believe
do
it's
well
going to be, like, it's already 3 years now. Really, if you asked me, I would have said maybe a year and a half or 2, but amazing. I know he get to the AFCON final. I'm aware of that, right? And when he got the job, I still said, well, here's Hugo Boss. Can you imagine if he gets it? In fact, if he does get us to, for me, we've got to play in the World Cup again.
Absolutely.
The last time we qualified for the World Cup was in Korea.
Sure.
It's ridiculous.
Absolutely.
And we've got to qualify, and we've got to be in the knockout stages of the World Cup. We've got to be like what Morocco did, get to the quarters and the semis and whatever. We need to live up to what we think of ourselves as this champion sporting nation.
We need to get to the World Cup, we need to get to the AFCON and win the AFCON also.
Well, there you are. You've just delivered the ultimatum to Hugo Bruce. If you want to be Hugo Boss, you know exactly what you have to do.
Life is always good in the top half. However, it requires consistency. That's what the University of Johannesburg and First Touch ladies want to deliver. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ Ladies FC versus First Touch Ladies FC on Sunday, 8 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
We can simply talk about the song that you love, the song that helps you through the day, a song that might have helped you through difficult times, or a song that means something to you. Sylvia, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Why do you love this song?
I don't know. Every time I listen to the song, it just touches me. I don't know.
Tabiso Sikwane on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader.
SAFM sends its deepest condolences. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Really sad that Tabiso is not with us any longer. Really, really sad, isn't it? Let's get to the markets now with Paswane Mpatlele, who's a senior account manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Paswane, good chatting to you. Give us an update on the local and global markets.
Afternoon, Ashraf and your listeners. Well, Ashraf, the first week of September has been characterized by a sense of normality backing into the global financial markets. As bad news is bad and good news is good. And today, what big development was evident of this, with the U.S. job number being less than expected, and last month job numbers revised lower, which has kept sentiment for investors across the globe very weak. This has resulted with the likes of bond yields coming down, dollar weakness as rate cut expectations for September and November, oscillating between 50 basis points cut that is expected by the market. This has supported the likes of the yen, the British pound, and some of the emerging market currencies as the outlook remains optimistic. When you look into the commodity, oil prices remain bearish at $73 a barrel, as demand outlook is still remaining dim when you consider the consumption levels that are going forward for the likes of the US, China, Germany, for mostly the likes of the G20. Looking at the gold, it remains bullish, holding the level of $2,508 an ounce. And overall, general equities, Ashraf, is still not looking good to end the week. S&P 500 is down 1%, Nasdaq down 1.5%, Dow down 0.5%, Europe, FTSE and CAC down 0.1%, DAX is down 0.4%. Locally, the JSE mirrors this weakness coming from the global scene, with the JSE down 0.5%, resource sector down 1.3%, industrial down 0.7%, financials remain very resilient, flat. And when you look into the currency market, there's some rand weakness coming through, with the rand against the dollar at 17 rand 77, rand against the euro 19.72, rand against the pound 23.42.
Perfect. Thank you for that. And you have a good weekend, Paswane. I'll certainly talk to you and the team on Monday. Thank you.
Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
Certainly, let's talk. What for you moves the national pulse today? What are the big issues? Your thoughts, your comments actually helps us drive whatever you think are the biggest issues. You can call in 086 0002032. By the way, are you like a first-time caller who's like hesitant to call? If you've been hesitant for whatever reason, can I just invite you to call in? Because I think we all have an opinion, right? And it's important that you express that opinion. So let me hear it. First-time callers in particular, but I mean regulars too, right? Young, old, male, female, I certainly want to hear what you have to say no matter where you come from. 086 0002032. Then if you wish to send a voice note, do that to 0614 104 107. You can also tweet us anytime, as well as on Facebook too. But you can also send text comments. By the way, just on the voice note, the National Pulse, if you want to join the WhatsApp channel, just say join channel. Let's get to some of your comments then, right? So here we are about, we spoke about China and South Africa. Here's a lesson.
Assalamu alaikum, Ashraf Peter here. So South Africa must learn something from China. They cannot buy the success of China. They must develop their own. Educate your children properly. Stop them from abusing alcohol. Give them proper education, discipline, and then we'll be like China, or even, more like China. But you can't buy success of other countries, right? So for me, this is a waste of time and money. Joe.
But what is a waste of time? I'm not too sure what you mean by this is a waste of time. What is a waste of time? I don't know. I'll just leave it to you to tell me what you think is a waste of time. Right, more comments.
Afternoon, Ashraf. I think there's nothing the minister did wrong. He borrowed the money and he paid back the money. And the minister, by just listening to the minister, he knows the dates. He knows what was going on. He asked for advices. He just wanted to have a simple coffee shop to look after his family after a career. So that's it. If the money is even paid back, there's no corruption. So I'm not sure why is this thing taking so long. Thank you.
If the money is paid back, there's no corruption. I've never heard that one before. The money has been paid back, yeah, but there's a big but around that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. My name is Elfas Ngobo here in KZN. You know, at face value, to me, the minister's comments paints a picture of a person who is innocent. But I guess the investigations will reveal more. But to me, at face value, she seems like somebody who's innocent, Ashraf. Anyway, enjoy your evening.
Okay, let's get to some of the callers now. Porto in Polokwane. Hello, Porto.
Thanks, Asha, for taking my call.
It's a pleasure,
Look,
man.
Maybe you can explain it to me. I don't understand. If I borrow money from Standard Bank, and then it happens that Standard Bank collapses due to whatever, corruption in Standard Bank and everything. After Standard Bank has collapsed, will I now be charged because I borrowed money from them and they were corrupt? Because I wouldn't have known. I would have borrowed money just like any client borrows money from any bank.
No,
so the fact that Standard Bank collapses does not mean that I am corrupt because I had gotten a loan from them.
No, I think you got it wrong. I hear you. It's got nothing to do whether the bank collapsed or not. There can be causes for the collapse, and that's different. The issue here is, did the minister, who was the mayor at the time of your community of Polokwane, as you know that, did the minister engage in an activity where she benefited from a close relationship in terms of the dealings with the bank and then with another company that has got a close relationship, and did she benefit from that where they're not, it doesn't seem regular. That's really what the issue is. Whether the bank collapsed is really not the issue, right? But look, I mean, there's lots of speculation now. We need to see what finally plays out in the next few days, right? Porto, thanks for that. Do call in again. Like to get new callers from wherever they are around the country, around the world as well. Vincent, go ahead. Hi, Vincent.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, good indeed. Go ahead. What's your point?
Wonderful. Here's my point. There are three things about Minister Similane's version or developments. One, we must agree on what is the crime, right? We must agree on what is the potential crime in this instance. Two, we must draw a scene which we would regard as a crime scene. The third point is that we must locate her at the crime scene. And in my view, no matter how emotional we want to become about the matter, she definitely has got a case to answer, because of the fact that it would be a crime in a sense that you are now trading with an entity that is supposed to act independently from any other sorts of influences. And in that instance, she did not. She did not allow or separate the relationship between herself and this particular entity. Now, that would qualify as a crime on its own. Secondly, the crime scene would be, is there a possibility that this was a gratification? Most certainly. We are not even certain whether, if at all this company was not involved with a VBS, she would have gotten the loan. Now, that's where it creates a crime scene. And in my view, for a fact that she admits that she got money from the law firm, it then drag her or place her to the crime scene. And I unfortunately believe that the state should have it very easy to get her convicted.
So you think the state is going to have it very easy? Some suggest it may be very difficult. Why are you so convinced that it'll be a very easy case when there's been so many high-profile cases? As you know, they drag on, and then, we just get shelved, and there's insufficient evidence, and they can't convict, and they can't nail her.
Mm-hmm. I think that it should be easy. And here's the most important thing. In between the period which was not disclosed as to what is the duration of the loan, what happened? Absolutely nothing, because the matter, in her view, could have been put to rest at that time. But the minute when she realized the matter is being awakened, she acted. Can you then get to a motivation of what would have prompted that? Certainly to try and cover it up.
Okay, well, you certainly have stated your case. You almost sound like the prosecutor. I'm just making the point. You've stated your case. Vincent, thanks for that. And certainly love just the fact that there are people on the show, listeners, audience, and when you call in, you're part of the show, who are able to articulate their views and express them in the ways that you see fit. And of course, as you talk, there are half the country may be giving you a thumbs up and others are giving you a thumbs down, but that's fine. What we want is you be able to articulate a position and take up that position, explain it, and then get all of us thinking. That's why we call the show The National Pulse.
Hey, Mike, congratulations on your retirement.
Thanks, Andile. Are you preparing for it?
Yes, but not just for myself.
For you and?
For me and my employees.
Oh.
You know, since we moved to Old Mutual Corporate, their retirement funds have not only been safe and secure, but gaining competitive returns through exposure to diverse investment markets.
Impressive.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Amatax ladies target all 3 essential points to climb up the ladder, but the ladies from eThekwini plan to demonstrate a sense of urgency to move from the bottom half. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Durban Ladies FC on Saturday, 7 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM. This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to celebrate the rich tapestry of our nation's diverse cultures. From the vibrant beats of our traditional music to the flavors of our unique cuisines, every culture tells a story of strength, unity, and identity. We honor the heroes and heroines who laid down their lives for our freedom, reminding us that our shared heritage is what makes us strong. Together as one, we celebrate who we are because our culture is our identity. This Heritage Month, let's celebrate every culture, every story, and every voice. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
I wonder whether there's been, that comment from one of the callers who said, with regard to South Africa and China, and just, do something else. I mean, do you have an opinion, an understanding really of the complexities of trading in foreign territories with big economic super blocks like China and the USA and maybe the collective of the European Union and maybe others too, and how complex it may be, because it can't just be about just rands and cents or dollars. There are geopolitical issues that come into play. There are trade-offs. There's always that concern, as we've been discussing all along, that, is this a way to colonize the African continent or not? On the other hand, is the African continent at this point in time dependent on powers like Russia and the USA and China, for example, or can we avoid them completely? And if we do, what's our capability of doing just that? It's certainly something that, if you have an opinion on, I certainly would like to hear you. Now, maybe part of that is the ability of the African continent, South Africa, and the other countries to be able to build the building blocks on our own that we need to build the type of continent that we require, that we need, right? With that in mind, the deep learning in Daba taking place in Senegal is particularly important. It's a combination of African machine learning and the AI community coming together with this mission to strengthen African AI. So absolutely on side on that there. Let's find out more in terms of what's happening, because I think it's been running for a few days now already, with Bataung Kotsakwane, who's the editor of iAfrican.com. Bataung, appreciate your time and thanks for connecting to the National Pulse.
Bonjour, Ashraf. Nice to be here on air. Good afternoon to all South Africans.
Much appreciated. Right. Tell me, firstly, the significance of this coming together of people in the machine learning and artificial intelligence space, all techies and innovators, I would gather.
Okay, so Ashraf, just to paint the picture for the benefit of our listeners. So now, in all developed economies such as America and Europe, you have AI and machine learning conferences where all scholars and practitioners and policymakers meet up every year in order to make decisions and cut the way forward in terms of AI. In America, you have NeurIPS, right? It's one of the largest in the globe. Now, our African equivalent to a NeurIPS is what we call the Deep Learning Indaba, and it started on the 1st of September, and we're running till Saturday. And basically, you have all 43 countries here converging at Senegal, Dakar, and you have everybody in AI and machine learning, from scholars to researchers to graduates and policymakers.
Okay, and I know often when we talk about what's happening, we look at outcomes. So at the end of it all, what would you think that needs to be achieved for it to be impactful?
So there's really three things why the Indaba matters for Africa. One is bridging knowledge gaps. Two, showcasing African innovation. And three, building strong AI communities. On top of that, contributing to the global body of knowledge when it comes to AI and machine learning. So, Ashraf, what we're seeing on the continent is a really aggressive and really a thirst for artificial intelligence. So you have what we call poster sessions, we have what we call workshops, we have what we call plenary sessions, where scholars come together and debate and critique and help each other on the fundamentals of AI and how AI looks from an African point of view, and then how that then contributes to the global outlook of artificial intelligence and machine learning. It is very critical and very essential in the sense that it is one of the few events where you have all AI scholars, researchers, and graduates from across the continent in 43 countries on the African continent that converge in the same place to have these conversations.
And you've had similar ones before. I mean, maybe not AI because it didn't exist, right? But, that type of innovation-based conferences.
100%, but this one is very unique in the sense that it specifically focuses on AI and machine learning. And why do I stress that, Ashraf? Because we have what we call an AI competition, right, or race, and primarily it's led by the US and China. And you're seeing Africa not really necessarily being talked about globally within the AI race. And I think Deep Learning Indaba is an initiative to get Africa within that space. A typical example is the fact that Time Magazine just released the top 100 most influential people in AI. And this year we have 2-3 Africans on that list, and all those African researchers and influencers when it comes to AI are actually present here this week at Senegal discussing these matters. So Deep Learning Indaba is a very critical conference.
Any specific takeouts you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Look, Ashraf, I think what's important is a few themes that the Indaba really focuses on. It focuses on inclusivity and access. It's focusing on AI climate change. Climate change is a really big topic globally, and I think change and how to use AI to combat that. We've seen, yes, sir?
No, I think we just lost you for a sec. Continue, please do.
Oh yes, when you see the climate change and what's been happening in KwaZulu-Natal and many parts of the continent, the drought that's been happening in Northern Africa, I think that's really important. You're seeing a lot of work done in ethical considerations and legal considerations when it comes to artificial intelligence and the development thereof.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's leave it at that. I appreciate you giving up your time and sharing it with us. That's the editor at iAfrican.com, African with a K, African. Bataung Kotsokwani, thank you so much for that. Right, there's certainly people who are pleased with what the Gauteng Premier is doing.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. This is Tabasong Bloemfontein. I'm glad that the Mayor of Johannesburg and the Premier of Gauteng are taking up this initiative to clean the CBD. My concern is Siri, this organization that is stopping government from doing its job. You can't always take government on litigations when they want to do something. How many buildings that have been hijacked and been taken over by the foreigners and renting out to South Africans? Illegally so. When government wants to demolish those buildings, still is taking them to court. So there must be an investigation about this city. Who are the leaders of this non-profitable organization? Where do they get funding? Who's funding them? You must get the answers on that.
Okay, well, you've put through many, many questions. Let's pause on that. I can tell you now, we'll chat to Caroline Steyn after 5. She's in the hot seat. Well, not literally with me, but she'll join me shortly. Let's get the news now. It's 5 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. Kwaito legend passes away and a call to address the water crisis in Makanda. Good day to you. Kwaito legend Sandile Ngwenya, also known as Mapaputsis, died aged 45. He rose to fame with his 2001 hit single Izinja, which became a Kwaito anthem and firmly established him as a pioneer of the genre. His energetic style and impactful lyrics resonated with millions. He's reported to have been ill for more than a year. Industry colleague Vusi Liu.
It is another sad moment for the music industry, for us to lose such an icon, especially at the time that we are celebrating 30 years of the role that Kwaito played in our country and the music industry. Usandile played a huge role in the growth of Kwaito music.
Khayelitsha Regional Court in the Western Cape has sentenced a man to 15 years in prison after he pleaded guilty to charges of kidnapping and extortion. Police say the charges stem from a hijacking and abduction that occurred in November last year. Police say the complainant and her friends were abducted by the man and his accomplices while in an Uber taxi. The victims were held at 2 locations and forced to transfer money from their accounts. Upon their release, they found the taxi driver locked in the trunk of the vehicle. The victims reported their ordeal to the police and the suspect was arrested. Limpopo's Transport Department says it will launch internal disciplinary processes against the 11 traffic officials arrested for alleged corruption. This is in addition to the charges the officials already face. The officers allegedly solicited bribes from motorists. They were under surveillance for 2 years and were arrested while on duty on the N1 and at the department offices in Polokwane. The Traffic Department's Stephen Machena.
Their conduct when they're out there, we don't really know and we cannot be there with them, but this message is a very strong message to those that have not actually been arrested, and we support the law enforcement, as I said. Of course, internally we've got processes where we'll start with our disciplinary processes. We'll wait to hear what happens. Probably they'll get bail, and then we'll then be able to take our processes further. These remain allegations, very strong, of course, but internally we've got our own processes. Probably they'll be suspended.
The Eastern Cape-based government watchdog, the Public Service Accountability Monitor, is calling for national government to intervene and address the water crisis in Makanda. University Town's been experiencing water-related challenges for decades due to a lack of maintenance of its aging water infrastructure. Recently, the ratepayers, including Rhodes University, were up in arms with the Makana local municipality about the water supply crisis. This prompted Cocta in the province to hold discussions with municipal leaders to find a lasting solution to the crisis. The Accountability Monitor's Jay Cruiser.
There is a failure at a political level. There is a failure at an administrative level. There is mismanagement across the board. We have received 5 disclaimed audit opinions in a row. The evidence is overwhelming. We need national government to intervene with the support of provincial government, and we need a complete overhaul of this municipality.
Finally, All Black supporters in Cape Town will be able to see their heroes in action for the first time in about 7 years in the Rugby Championship clash against the Springboks at the Cape Town Stadium tomorrow at 5 p.m. The Mother City reportedly has the biggest All Blacks fan base outside New Zealand. Many of them are like Rishan Jarvis, who they've supported the All Blacks from a young age.
My love for supporting the All Blacks actually started in 1995 when I actually watched my first live game when New Zealand played England on Newlands. That's the best stadium. I can declare that was the best stadium. Like my fellow supporter mentioned about Jonah Lomo, that actually was the thing that attracted me when he ran over my cat. And there my love for New Zealand started. And ever since that day, and I've been following them and support them heart and soul. I call myself a New Zealand fanatic.
Top stories that Kwaito legend Sandile Ngwenya, also known as Mapaputsi, has died aged 45. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Hoos.
And coming up in sports this hour, Bafana looking to start AFCON qualifiers on a high. Box set to turn championship into dead rubber, and Paris to honour slain Rebecca Cheptegei. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Today's a busy Friday across Gauteng region. You've got the R59 closure from Klip River Drive coming north into Joburg because of a crime scene, and then southbound there's some real pressure just heading between Swakoppies and Klip River Drive passing the actual crime scene. Soweto is getting pretty busy, particularly around the circle. We've got the AFCON qualifier at Orlando Stadium, 6 p.m. kickoff. Routes like the N17, Soweto Highway and down through Klipstrand Valley Road, all looking rather busy. Looks like a lot of traffic getting caught going that way as well. On the Mike 1 South, there's a crash down by the Xavier Street exit, and it's a very heavy backlog from about the sort of Houghton Drive exit in Parktown. Lights out on Gordon Road at Hendrik Portgieter, so there's some delays out on the West Rand area. Main and Luckland between Lone Hill and Kyalami, those lights still down. And a collision scene out on Chartwell Cedar Road, just east of the 114, the Lion Park Road, if you like. If you're moving between Dainford and Chartwell, there's some very heavy backlogging. Big traffic coming out of Pretoria, breakdown by the Bruckfontein Road exit, so the N14 and the N1 highways heading south through Bruckfontein interchange are badly backed up. Durban, another breakdown into north going up to Gateway through the roadwork, so that's heavy from Kumashu. A crash at Pavilion causing a delay heading out towards the Pinetown side. And Cape Town roadworks on the Kuiberg Road just before Macro, so if you're heading out towards Tableview, quite a backlog of single line traffic on that section. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
Mzansi, play Powerball for the guaranteed 90 million rand this Friday, and you could win the life-changing jackpot. Don't miss out. Play Powerball now and get in the game for your chance to become the next big multi-millionaire. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529# for USSD. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old and play responsibly. eTuba is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Amatax ladies target all 3 essential points to climb up the ladder, but the ladies from eThekwini plan to demonstrate a sense of urgency to move from the bottom half. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Durban Ladies FC on Saturday, 7 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So it's Friday. It means we have the Friday fireside chat. Yes, certainly no heavy current affairs issues in the last hour of the show on a Friday only. But having said that, we've had some amazing guests in the last month since we started this feature just post the election. Let's see how many I can remember. We've had Lorenzo Davids from Cape Town. Then we've had Dr. Mampela Rampele. We've had Dr. Alan Busak. We've had, I mustn't forget anybody, we've had Felicia Mabuza-Suttle. And last week we had Dr. Naledi Pando. And so you're in good company, Carolyn Steyn. We just heard that.
That sounds quite intimidating.
How are you going to cope? We'll see.
Well, you see, I'm busy crocheting. It's calming me down.
But you've always done that, right? Crocheting, is that the right word?
Well, for the
no matter what else you do, right?
10 years.
Yeah. No, but what I mean is, that's in terms of the overall challenge on your mission. But literally, like every free moment you have, you do that as well.
I do other things as well.
Okay, you do. Yeah. What are you doing these days? I mean, when people see you, and they connect with you and they recognize you, what's the first thing they tell you that circles back to what they think you do? For example, they're not going to say, I saw you score that wonderful try last week, because you did, right? So what do people tell you?
Well, funny enough, I was in London a few months ago sitting at this pizza place outside Harrods, and there was a man on his phone, but loud, on FaceTime, and it was getting very annoying. So I was giving him some dirty looks. And he looked at me and he said, "You're the blanket lady."
Oh.
Well, then we became fast friends.
I hope he's listening as we give you blanket coverage of things. So the blanket lady sticks for you, right?
Yeah. It's, it has become a calling. Graça Michelle says, "My dear, you do realize that you've found your calling." And indeed, I have, because everything seems to revolve around 67 blankets for Nelson Mandela Day. I do a radio show on Hot 102.7 FM every night, 7
classic,
to 10.
Right? Classic?
Light
No?
classics, Broadway show tunes, beautiful film scores, lovely, lovely, lovely music. So that's punting my show.
Well, it's a fireside chat.
Yeah, I'm on the board of the Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra. I'm on the Friends Committee of IFAS, the French Institute of South Africa. I'm on the board of 67 Blankets for Nelson Mandela Day. I mean, I can't believe that we've got a board, we've got an exco. When this whole thing started, I'd never heard of the word exco. People had to explain. So now, we're a real organization. It's just incredible.
Well, let's talk about the impact it's had. So, again, I clearly know about 67 blankets for Nelson Mandela Day, but let's just assume that not everybody knows. So
Right.
Let me give you a chance to make the pitch once again for what it is we're talking about.
Okay, so shortly after the passing of our beloved Nelson Mandela, on the 5th of December 2013, my husband Doe had his birthday on the 19th of December, and Doe and Madiba had a very close father-son relationship. And at the table for Doe's birthday was Zelda Lachransi, Mandela's assistant for many years. And we were talking about memories of Madiba, the pain that we felt, and how we're going to live his legacy. What are we going to do for Mandela Day the following year? Mm-hmm. Zelda, in her inimitable way, said, "Make 67 blankets." But it was light-hearted banter in one ear, out the other. And then my sister arrived on Christmas Day with a bag of wool and a crochet hook, reminding me of my pledge. So I started crocheting on Christmas Day 2013. And I realized very quickly I can't make 67 blankets on my own. My friends all said at that time, "I don't cook, I don't knit, I'm too busy." They're all making blankets now as we speak. And so I turned to Facebook at 3 o'clock in the morning. Is there anybody out there that might be able to help me make a blanket? Because I've pledged 67. And when I woke up a few hours later, I was absolutely gobsmacked by the traction, how people had offered to make a blanket. And so blankets started piling up in our dining room.
Well, there we are.
And then I received a call from one Mfundi Wundler from Generations. Could we meet? And we spoke about weaving the story of 67 blankets into the script of Generations. Wow. And I remember being on the Nelson Mandela Bridge and strangers coming up to me because I played the role of Mrs. Steyn on Generations.
You played yourself.
I played myself.
Okay.
Difficult role. And strangers coming up to me saying, "Mrs. Steyn, where can we drop off our blanket?" It was amazing. So I remember one evening after dinner, I said to my husband, "Shall we go and watch some TV?" And he said, "No, I want to look at these blankets that are now piling up in the dining room. I want to look at them." And I'm asking myself, why do people take time out and drive to a shop and then spend weeks or months or whatever it is making a blanket? They're paying for wool, they're making a blanket. Why are they doing this? But the biggest question of all is, why are they giving these blankets to you, Carolyn?
To pass on to who?
To pass on to children in orphanages, people in old-aged homes, frail care centres, squatter camps, rural areas, the most disadvantaged people that we come across. So, yeah, I think it's because people see where the blankets go to. We are very, very transparent on Facebook, on Instagram, and people recognize their blanket wrapped around a young orphan child.
Their unique blanket. I mean, I'm looking at some of the wool you've got. They're very colourful. And
isn't this
thank
lovely?
you for beautiful. But,
Yeah.
But I'm going to put this because we're streaming live. Okay, the cameras are off there, but we'll certainly do that. We're streaming live there, and I've got this beautiful scarf.
Yes.
In the South African flag, and it's so interesting because last week Saturday, when everybody rallied around to watch the Box beat the All Blacks, my wife, we were looking for how many South African flag scarves I have, and I have two, but we were short of more. So now we've got the third one.
You've got the third one, and
Absolutely
this one,
beautiful.
Ashraf, is very different because this one is made with love by our Nitwits for Madiba.
Well, there you are. I mean, the point is well made, and that's the point in terms of your why. Not so much you, the others. What has driven them to be able to repeat? Because it's not just a one-off, right?
It's been going for 10 years.
What has driven them to do this?
I think people really do want to make a difference. People want to effect change in our country. A lot of people, myself included, did not know how. And so when this challenge came along by Zelda, I have to say now, it is the biggest gift that has ever been given to me because it has changed my life. And I believe that it's changed the lives of thousands of people around our country and people around the world, because we've got chapters all around South Africa, in countries like the United States, in England, Canada, all over. People are making blankets in the name of Mandela. It gives them a purpose, a reason to get out of bed. Well, certainly in my case, people do have jobs, but companies have got knitting corners now, where people gather together on a Friday afternoon and exchange ideas, knitting. We talk about knitting our lives together. We're knitting our nation together.
Yeah.
We are knitting nations together.
How has it changed you? Because I'm trying to think about. I mean, I only know you as the 67 blankets person. I didn't know you before.
Yes.
You had a career. I mean, you as an actress, you've done a lot of things. I mean, you could talk about that alone, right? But that's not the case of what we're talking
but
about
that's
now.
no longer Carolyn. That was a previous life, being on stages in front of cameras, playing other people. Right now, I'm not playing, I'm being myself. And one of the reasons I became an actress was because I didn't want to be Carolyn. I was incredibly shy. I didn't feel connected when I was in company. And now I feel very changed. I feel connected to you. I feel connected to people because I have a purpose. I have a reason to be in this world. I engage with people in squatter camps. My feet find themselves in prisons over the years, working with inmates, teaching them how to crochet, giving them an opportunity to create warmth for people on the outside whose lives have been affected by crime and poverty. So, yes, my life has changed. So I was an actress, and, my life was, I would say now, hedonistic, living for myself. I now no longer, I would say I no longer live for myself. I live to help other people. I live to serve.
And when did you make that decision? I don't mean Zelda's idea.
Yeah.
Zelda's idea happened, then your sister called you, then there was an activation.
Yes.
Then you did it. But at some stage, you can tell me how long, where you said, actually, this is it. This is my life now.
Yeah, I think a very important moment in our 67 Blankets journey was when we received a request to provide blankets for a home called Nazareth House. Nazareth House is where my mum grew up as an orphan. And she would talk about, on the weekends, people would come and choose their children. And she would always call out, choose me, pick me, and nobody did. So when I saw Nazareth House, of course, I wanted to go there. personally with blankets, and I arrived at Nazareth House, at this place where my mom grew up, where we would go on Saturdays to the fete, and where she would always put money in the tin for the nuns, and then I saw these. It's now an old-aged home as well as an orphanage, looking after HIV-infected children mostly, and when these children came up to me, and the same thing, you know, take me home, it really resonated.
Sure.
And I think that was the real change for me.
Which suggested what to you? That people
need
you, right?
People need a hug. They need warmth. They need love. It's what we all need. But there are people out there with absolutely nothing. So to go in there, this year we did our road trip, engaging with communities all around the country, and going in there with beautiful warm blankets made with love by our nitwits, organized by our amazing ambassadors countrywide, and engaging with the people who, it really was a day that I think will live with them for a very, very long time, because we spent time with them, we engaged with them, we hugged them, and yeah, so...
And how do you feel about this fact that you can't take everybody home, although they're yearn to, as your mum, but you can change lives, and you have changed lives.
Yeah.
How do you feel? It's you obviously and your entire team, right? But how do you feel about that? Like now, if I said, Carolyn, you have changed people's lives, how do you feel about it?
I feel very proud because I never ever in my life thought that I would be able to make a difference in people's lives. And now I have the opportunity, this gift that is 67 blankets. I feel very proud that it has become a recognized brand, if you like, a recognized charity. And, you know, we've partnered with organizations like Gift of the Givers, Doctors Without Borders, Médecins Sans Frontières. So just to engage with those highly respected organizations, for me, is like, how did this happen? I'm a little girl from Kensington. I went to JP High School for girls. The best that I thought for me would be getting a good part in a play or a television series, and not actually making a difference.
But you certainly have. Tell you what, we are chatting to Carolyn Steyn, as you know, for up to 6 o'clock as part of this Friday feature we call the Fireside Chat, and inevitably we go all over the place, whatever it is, right? Although we accept the fact that a lot of what we talk about with the guests would be, even guest is the wrong word, because really just chatting, would be defined by their own mission and the things that they absolutely do. Now, there's probably time for maybe 2 calls, 2 voice notes that I can play. So if you want to call in, whoever you may be, whatever it is, you can certainly do that. 086 000 2032, 086 000 2032, and voice notes 0614 104 107. You can also text message me on that same number, 0614 104 107. But also, I know that the team from 67 Blankets are tweeting. The champion South Africa team are tweeting as well, because we think, well, I'll come back to you and being the champion. So we'll certainly do that. And you can also tweet as well, wherever you are. Just use the hashtag #TheNationalPulse. Now, I'll tell you what, one of the things that we've done, Carolyn, is we've sort of worked out some of the songs that you like. And there's no secret. So I'll say this, the one that we've picked out for you is... Love Changes Everything. You're comfortable with that, right?
Oh, I love that song. Andrew Lloyd Webber, Aspects of Love, and it's a song that my husband and I sing to each other.
Okay, so well, there you are. So this one is Love Changes Everything by Michael Ball, and I thought I thought we'll play it, but instead of me just playing it, since you've been on stage and you've been this actress...
You want me to sing it for you?
No, I want you to intro it first. But I mean, maybe you can sing a line. Well, if you want to.
Love changes everything. Hands and faces, earth and sky.
You see, she's got talent, absolutely. Okay, now what I want you to do is can you intro the song? We'll play a minute of it.
Okay. We are going to listen to Love Changes Everything by Andrew Lloyd Webber from the musical Aspects of Love, and sung by Michael Ball.
Love changes everything. Hands and faces, earth and sky. Love changes everything. How you live and how you die. Love can make the summer fly, or a night seem like a lifetime. Yes, love changes everything. Now I tremble at your name. Nothing in the world will ever be the same. Love changes everything. Days are longer, words mean more. Love changes everything. Pain is deeper than before.
Well, don't we know it? Love changes everything. I can tell you now, Carol, and I've had a few people messaging me. They're like, we didn't know you know her, Ashraf. Of course I know her. I know you. But
Yes.
I mean, the point is you have such an impact. I mean, you are very recognizable, right?
Am I? Okay.
Well, you are. I mean, what I'm trying to say...
Well, I got recognised in London by the person next to me.
No, absolutely. Blanket coverage. Let's go back. Well, maybe give me the numbers, just in terms of 67 blankets, in terms of... So it's 10 years, that I know, right? How many people have... I was almost going to say how many have tweeted. No, how many have crocheted over the period? How many blankets has been... What's the right word? Manufactured, produced?
Produced,
right?
created, made. Over the past 10 years, I can comfortably say that we have not distributed 67 blankets. No. We have distributed over 125,000 blankets, and I think that's quite extraordinary. Not only that, we also have our yearly scarf activation, our secret scarves, don't tell anyone, where thousands and thousands and thousands of scarves get hung up all around our country on the 18th of July, Mandela Day, every year.
Okay, fabulous. I did say we'll probably have maybe 2 calls, 2 voice notes, so let's get some of them very quickly. We have on the line Charlie, hi.
Hey, Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, good talking to you, man, right? I'm sure you don't want to talk to me, understandably so. Yeah.
Bro, this is a dream come true, you know. I have to speak to Caroline Steyn, the Caroline Steyn, the golden lady, you know, the angel. You know, that's doing wonders. Caroline, that's me, Charlie Peterson. How are you?
Hi, Charlie. Hello. Yes, I know Charlie Peterson
from the Free State. Yeah.
I mean, I'm
where are you now?
I mean, I'm staying in Joburg.
Are you the Joburg guy now? Okay.
13 years now.
I link you to Bloom Celtic. I mean, but anyway, go ahead. Don't talk to me.
I
Go
know
ahead.
of Charlie Peterson. Yes.
It's him, yeah. Caroline, you are doing an amazing job. And really, you know, you are great inspiration. You and Doe, and we really, really appreciate you as a nation for what you are doing.
Charlie, thank you.
That's all that I wanted to say.
And thank you. Your words mean so much. I really, really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And my desire is to have a picture of you that every birthday of mine that you can also post.
Okay.
Listen, you should have been Charlie or Charles on Facebook. I mean, you should have been here today, man. If I knew that, I would have arranged it. You should have been here.
I know, bro, but it's so hectic because we're busy now with Bernard Parker and his soccer team. Is pretty, you know, he's a coach.
I know.
Game tomorrow, yeah.
All right, we need to talk more about the things that you do, but we'll do that some other time. Thanks for that,
Thank
Charles.
you,
Peterson and Charlie, much
and
appreciated.
You are a great champion, Ashraf. Great champion for this nation.
You're very, very kind indeed. Thanks so much for that. But in fact, Carolyn, you Facebook to say, well, I am the champion, but I'm turning it around. You are a champion because you've championed great causes, right? And I know that. But also you haven't done it sort of just by the way at a mediocre level. You've championed it in a way that it's been a champion class organization, and that is what 67 Blankets is. So I'm saying that because as part of this fireside chat, I mean, it's time to pay tribute to you as well. It's fabulous.
Thank you. It starts with a dream, something that you want to do, and then it's putting it into action and being disciplined enough to make it happen. Fortunately, I'm surrounded by very supportive people, my husband included. I mean, he is really my champion, giving me wings to do the things that I want to do now. I mean, he's done just incredible things, just like, I don't understand how one person does what he does.
We'll talk about that maybe.
But in terms of 67 Blankets for Nelson Mandela Day, I have got ambassadors all around the country who really are movers and shakers. The one talent that I do have is I recognize talent and I recognize leadership. And those people are the people that have been chosen to lead 67 Blankets in their neck of the woods.
But that is a great gift. You see, it's beyond just crocheting. Because if you would recognize leadership, you recognize the people who can champion the cause well beyond what your capabilities. You're a multiplier, which I think is phenomenal. 5:30. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg Coase.
Quick look at the headlines. Lawyers representing MK Party member John Hlophe have described the case at the Western Cape High Court as an attitude of the racist section of society. Kwaito legend Sandile Ngwenya, also known as Mapaputsis, died aged 45. And people are bracing themselves in southern China and Vietnam for a super typhoon. There's a full update at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
The latest on the R59 between Joburg and Vaal, there's no change really. The 59 is closed coming into Joburg at Klip River Drive. Klip River through to Swartkoppies is the closure due to today's crime scene. So that'll have you diverting, and it's got a lot of pressure having a look at the scene going south from Swartkoppies into Klip River Drive. Traffic building up into Soweto's Orlando area, the N17 particularly heavy as you line up to get down in big volumes towards Soweto Circle. Also, if you're heading that way on the Mike 1, there's been a crash at Ormonde, and traffic remains very heavy coming from the Parktown side. A crash on Cedar Road out by Chartwell, still backlogging traffic, probably 15-20 minutes minimum to get through there. Breaking down truck out of Pretoria on the N1 South near the Bruckfontein Road. That's heavy. The N1 South through John Foster, N14 after Jean Avenue, all very heavily back trying to get past that particular obstruction. Now Durban, another breakdown in the roadworks between Komashu and Gateway, so pressure on going north. A crash scene now at Cato Ridge on your way down to Durban. That's a backlog from Camperdown. All lanes are open, so hopefully that's an improving situation. Cape Town today, Hospital Bend, pretty clear. Coburg interchange certainly is clear. And roadworks on the Coburg Road. If you're heading up to Tableview, just expect a bit of a slowdown into a single lane section by the Macro Complex. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
Right, Teresa, so the Bafana game starts in 28 minutes.
Literally. Yeah. It's starting off in 28 minutes, and former Bafana midfielder Dr. Khumalo has urged all South Africans to rally behind the national team. Kick-off at 6 p.m, and Khumalo is confident that Bafana will qualify for AFCON if they maintain their current performance. He says he has no doubt that coach Hugo Bruce and his technical team will make South Africa proud as they face Uganda at Orlando Stadium, and you can catch that action on SABC3, as we know that our usual goalkeeper Ronald Williams is out with injury. The coach has opted to start with Veli Mota, and this is his reasoning behind that.
Well, first of all, I think Veli didn't disappoint me in the previous games he played. He's with us since the beginning, so he knows the team, he knows the players. So I think it was better to put him today in the goal than someone who nearly didn't play with us till now.
Well, then moving on to rugby. Griquas beat Western Province 37-26 in their Currie Cup clash this afternoon. Then Golden Lions are currently leading 7-0 over Griffins 16 minutes into that match. Then it's also Sims goal for the Springboks and All Blacks clash in Cape Town. If South Africa win with a bonus point, they'll just need 2 points from their final 2 matches to win the title for the first time since 2019. Meanwhile, if New Zealand lose, they surrender their crown, which they have won 20 times and held for the past 4 years. And then the Freedom Cup will also go to the Boks for the first time since 2009. So great motivation for the Springboks. And here's Captain Siya Kolisi.
I'll say it in English because also for us, what they do, Coach Rassi, like people say transformation is putting bad players in the team. But for us, they put guys in the team who are good enough to be there. But then they upskill us. Like when I became captain, Coach Rassi has known me since I was 18 years old. He knows that I will probably struggle at the beginning because I was shy. This is a big thing, and I was very scared. And then he made the pressure points. He made everybody a leader in the team so that I had one job, and my only job was to talk to the ref and manage the team's discipline. So each guy had a role. So I'm growing, everybody else is also growing. Now we have so many leaders in the team.
That's why the Springboks are so inspirational. They are a bunch of winners and a bunch of leaders. Meanwhile, Springbok women are also in action tomorrow. They face the Barbarians, and kickoff is at 1:30 also at the DHL Stadium. And the game will be in preparation of the WXV2, which starts on the 27th of September. And Springbok captain Siya Kolisi visited the women's squad yesterday, spending time at their training session and team hotel. And according to Captain Nolu Boy, it was a huge boost for the team. Then the city of Paris will honor slain Ugandan runner Rebecca Cheptegei by naming a sports venue after her. Cheptegei succumbed to severe burns yesterday after being poured with petrol and set on fire by her boyfriend at her home in Kenya. And Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo says that her story will carry the message of equality, which is carried by the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And talking about the Paralympic Games, South African wheelchair tennis star Donald Rampadi says that he's happy to have kept his promise to deliver a medal for Team South Africa with his partner Lucas Sithole at the Paris Paralympics. The duo won a historic bronze medal on Wednesday to secure Africa's first ever Paralympic wheelchair tennis podium finish in the quad doubles, and Rampadi says that third place finish came as a relief to him.
Hi, first of all, I would like to say I'm actually relieved that, I kept my promise, because it was going to be something else. Yeah, we understand that, sports is something else. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win, but I'm actually happy that I actually kept my promise. I end up on the podium.
Ending things off with tennis, British number 1 Jack Draper is 100% sure that he can reach the US Open final as he gears up for the biggest match of his life against his friend Jannik Sinner today. Draper is 2 wins away from winning a maiden Grand Slam after cruising into the semi-finals of the US Open without dropping a set. After an injury hit 2023, which saw him miss Wimbledon, he has been rewarded with a breakout year with the first ATP Tour title at Stuttgart, which changed everything. And now he might just win the US Open. However, he needs to get over today's hurdle first. But that's it. It is a wrap from my side.
Okay, I'm not going to talk much about football, excepting I hope that Bafana wins. And the only reason is that we have Carolyn Steyn in the house. That's it.
That lucky charm.
We're trying to save as many minutes as we can to talk to her, so I'm sure you'd appreciate that.
Well,
but you have a great weekend to me. Perfect. And we'll chat on Monday. Absolutely.
Life is always good in the top half. However, it requires consistency. That's what the University of Johannesburg and First Touch ladies want to deliver. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ Ladies FC versus First Touch Ladies FC on Sunday, 8 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
We can simply talk about the song that you love, the song that helps you through the day, a song that might have helped you through difficult times, or a song that means something to you. Sylvia, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much.
Why do you love this song?
I don't know. Every time I listen to the song, it just touches me. I don't know.
Tabiso Sikwani on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader.
SAFM sends its deepest condolences. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
So much more to talk about with Carolyn Steyn. That comes up shortly. Let's continue talking about, well, the markets firstly with the SAFM market update. Jimmy, what's on the show today regarding the big issues?
Good evening, Ashraf. Good evening to the listeners. Markets have been reacting quite negatively to the U.S. jobs data that's come out today. We've got U.S. jobs prints come out a little earlier today, and it seems as though that spooked the market a little. The average hourly work rate, average hourly labor rate is still quite strong in the U.S. The non-farms numbers came in well below estimates, and the unemployment rate in the U.S. is still at 4.2%. So it doesn't look as though that U.S. data suggests that the rate cuts should be happening at this time. Unfortunately, though, the U.S. Fed is under a bit of pressure to make those rate cuts happen regardless. So markets are looking a little spooked on the equity side. If we look at just the performances of equity markets throughout the day, everything before the U.S. data, so European and Asian session would have been kind of a bit of a mixed bag. With the ASX and the mainland Shanghai Composite being the only markets in Asia finishing in the red, the CAC 40 the only one in the France finishing in the green, and all other markets in the red. The US markets are in the red now as well. NASDAQ and the S&P more than 1% down. Our local markets fared no better, with industrials down about 1.2%, resources down almost 2%, and the top 40 as a result was down about 1.13%, with the all-share down just under 1%. The Rand's also weakened a bit. It's back at 17.83 against the dollar, at 23.43 against the pound, and 19.78 against the euro. The Brent crude price is the only thing to be happy about. It's below $73 an ounce, $72.98 a barrel at the moment. But all signs are pointing to the fact that the U.S. jobs data might put a bit of pressure or put a bit of a spanner in the works when it comes to those rate cuts that are coming later this month, or expected later this month. We'll have to keep an eye on these going into next week as the data becomes more important as we get closer to the time. For now, we'll leave it at that.
Right, perfect. And of course, there's no show coming up at 6 o'clock because, it's the weekend, but also because Bafana are playing as well. So, Jimmy, you have a great weekend. We will connect on Monday, right? But Carolyn Steyn's in the house and we continue chatting to her.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, we certainly get to... So maybe time for one more call, one more voice note if you like. Linton, I see your message. Ashraf, thanks. You're such a gracious host. We'll argue with you when I see you in person. But much appreciated indeed. Thank you for that. Let's get back to Carolyn Steyn, the founder of 67 Blankets. Now, Carolyn, I want to talk about other things in your life, but there's some big thing coming up, and I don't want to miss that. What's the plan?
Okay, do you know what day March 20th, 2025 is, Ashraf?
Clearly I don't.
Clearly you don't. Let me tell you what it is. It's the United Nations International Day of Happiness.
Okay.
So, on March 20th, 2025, all roads will lead to Gqeberha, Port Elizabeth, where we, 67 Blankets, will be laying out the hugest happiness blanket in the world. Our chair of our EXCO, Brendan Greeley, has had meetings with Dr. Bruce Damons at the University of the Nelson Mandela University.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to be going down there on Tuesday. Excuse my voice. on Tuesday to meet with the role players there and our amazing ambassadors there, Kim Tucker, Corin van Rooyen, Jax Anderson, as well as some of our EXCO members and the team at the university, deciding where we're going to lay it out and all the nuts and bolts of the event that's going to happen on March 20th. So basically, I would love your listeners to become involved by making a happy blanket. When I say a happy blanket, a blanket that makes you happy in the making of it, and someone receiving it making them happy. So we want to distribute these blankets before Mandela Day next year. That's why we're doing it in March. And luckily, Happiness Day is March 20th. So we need your blankets. You can engage with us at info@67blankets, the number 67blankets.co.za. On Facebook, we're very, very Facebook driven. 67 Blankets for Nelson Mandela Day, in brackets SA, because we've got chapters all around the world. So yeah, our biggest, hugest happiness blanket, and thank all our lucky stars that we have Stutterford van lines on board again for the 10th year in a row, transporting blankets to and fro across our land.
And you certainly need that. Well, so here's the challenge. Of course, you can go to the 67 Blankets South African chapter on Facebook. But I mean, if you're up for it now, you can even just WhatsApp us now and say, join 67 Blankets. And if you WhatsApp us, we will connect you. So you can do that. You can also tweet it out on the, just tag SFM Radio. Do the same thing on my pages, on Twitter as well as on Facebook. Just say join 67 Blankets, and somehow or the other, we will find a way to connect you to Carolyn Steyn and her team. That WhatsApp number, 0614 104 107. Well, here's a WhatsApp.
Evening, Ashraf. Evening, Carol. I'm inspired by you. You have made me to discover my purpose in life. Yeah. Thank you for being there for South Africa, for Africa and the world. You're an inspiration. You are an inspiration. Thank you very much. Major from Gauteng.
There we are. How beautiful is that?
Isn't that beautiful? Wow.
Do you need that sort of affirmation, endorsement?
I think we all do, don't you think?
Yeah, because sometimes we forget.
You need to know if things are working, if people, are being helped, affected, changed. I think we all need to know what's happening in other people's lives and minds.
Absolutely. And the point you made earlier that Zelda's almost flippant conversation with you challenged you and changed your life, right? But that caller already said that he's found his purpose because of you. And it's not for us to decide, how did you do that so quickly? Because sometimes people just get it just like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you have the power to connect and to change lives and build people into something bigger and better. Well, what is your purpose? I mean, what is your purpose now?
Well, I forgot to mention that I'm also a board member of Hot Cares, which is the charity wing of Hot 102.7 FM.
Okay.
And the work that the team does there is just incredible, helping people in need. If somebody needs eye surgery, they're there. And animals, animals need us too. I mean, the cruelty inflicted on animals that you see on your Facebook feed is just too shocking for words. So I'm very, very proud to be part of the Hot Cares team. So that is also part of my purpose, introducing young people to the Johannesburg Philharmonic Orchestra and to theatre.
Yeah.
So I was involved in the theatre production Amadeus as a producer, and sending my JP girls to the play. I remember seeing Amadeus when I was a student at university, and it really was, you can't say life-changing, but really awakened to the magic of live theatre. So I'm hoping to instill that in the girls and, whoever comes along my path.
Well, you do, and I get a sense that you've always had a zest for living, isn't it? Well, certainly what I know now.
Yes.
Consistently so.
Yeah. You know, we all go through our dips. I've gone through dips in my time. But 67 Blankets certainly has taken me out of a dip and given me a purpose and a reason to get out of bed. So it's not always been like happy-go-lucky and, let's do things. I didn't know what to do for a long time.
How did you cope with the down times?
Well, how long do you have?
Probably a 1 minute answer would suffice.
A lot of care from a medical team.
Yeah. And I think, and I mean, maybe your advice, because you come across with lots of compassion. I've had the privilege of meeting and knowing you over years, right? So people listening now, they have different challenges. You've had your challenges, I've got mine, others have different. But when they have these challenges, they almost need someone to just whisper in the ear. I mean, would you like to whisper in the ear now?
This too shall pass. Bad things happen to people, but this too shall pass. If you can just, plod through it, there will be a rainbow at the end. So just keep going.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is there anything, and I'll change tack completely, is there anything that you'd like to get off your chest outside of 67 Blankets? We've discussed enough about, like, whether it's the country, the world, something that you feel very strongly about, because it's a fireside chat. Like, Ashraf, I need to tell you this.
I feel very strongly about the poverty in our country. I think it's so unjust for people to live the way they do, for young children to have to wade through rivers, treacherous rivers at times, to get to school. I find absolutely unacceptable that children drown in pit toilets. Unacceptable. Why is this still happening? Why? So if we can make a difference individually, because we can't count on government, maybe now there might be some change, but certainly as individuals, I know that Mark Barnes was very involved in building
I actually chatted with him 2 days ago about the post office and what's happening around that.
Yeah. But I know that he was fundraising for toilets for children so that they can have a decent toilet to sit on at school. And why don't we build bridges over rivers so children can get to school? I find it unacceptable.
Well, true. Lots more to come. Let's do that right after this.
It's Truck Month at Ford, which means you save big when you upgrade to the ultimate adventure-ready 4x4. Get the Ford Ranger Tremor for only $876,600, which comes standard with off-road features like adaptable Bilstein shocks and easy clean flooring. That's only $876,600 at your nearest Ford dealer today. T&Cs apply.
Amatax ladies target all 3 essential points to climb up the ladder, but the ladies from eThekwini plan to demonstrate a sense of urgency to move from the bottom half. This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. University of Pretoria Ladies FC versus Durban Ladies FC on Saturday, 7 September at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, SABC 1 and SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This Heritage Month, SAFM invites you to celebrate the rich tapestry of our nation's diverse cultures. From the vibrant beats of our traditional music to the flavors of our unique cuisines, every culture tells a story of strength, unity, and identity. We honor the heroes and heroines who laid down their lives for our freedom, reminding us that our shared heritage is what makes us strong. Together as one, we celebrate who we are because our culture is our identity. This Heritage Month, let's celebrate every culture, every story, and every voice. Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Carolyn staying in the house. It's a fireside chat. Maybe not much of a fire. There's no bowler here, but we certainly, I think, things on fire in terms of inspiring you. There's comments. Thank you for bringing us this compassionate, inspiring guest to end the week with, Ashraf. Warm greetings to you and to Carolyn from Grahamstown, Makanda, right? Well, there you are. And here's another. Hi, Ashraf. What a great guest you have there. And this is interesting. I used to decorate her house during Christmas time with a certain liquidated company coming from Remy from Yeovil. You may know who Remy is. And there's more. Ashraf, I'm enjoying your fireside chat. The lady touched me when she whispered, "This too shall pass." I really needed to hear that. Thanks from Ernest in Polokwane. You see, there you are. You're a facilitator. You don't even realize, but you're able to do that. And there's another, right?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for such a great show. And Carolyn, may God abundantly bless you. Your work is amazing. You are really touching lives and making a difference in people's lives beyond you can imagine. I am literally just listening to the show as I drive back home from work. I had a project in Durban where I was supplying matriculants every year. I started off because I was a teacher at a school where I was working, and then it grew one year. The last year I provided stationery packs to over 1,000 kids, and it was the last time I was doing it because I've relocated to Gauteng, so that's why it was big. But listening to you, I'm thinking, why would I stop such a great initiative? So I'm going to start again here in Gauteng. So thank you very much for the inspiration. Vana Futimfubu, Henley on clip.
Ah, beautiful. How do you respond to people who say, the trouble with Carolyn Steyn and she and her husband from Steyn City, they got too much money so they can talk about whatever they want to do and fix things, but their relative wealth is just so much more than us.
Well, you see, my husband is very wealthy. I'm not. And I don't have access to his bank account. I get an allowance and a little help from his trust for 67 blankets. So this is why it's very embarrassing for me to go to people, to companies, to say, please, can you help fund this particular project? And then, then of course they look at me, why are you asking? Doe Steyn's wife is asking for money. I don't have Doe Steyn's money, and I'm being really honest here. And it's uncomfortable to talk about, but I do need to put it on record. People think, let's just ask her, she'll pay for it. I can't.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of projects that I do work on. I do provide education for a number of people through the Ruth First Trust at JP High School for Girls. I'm a very proud ambassador of that. And so I'm kind of full up in terms of the help that I'm able to give every year. So I continue to help with those projects that I've been working with for a number of years.
Okay.
And of course, if there's a case that comes my way and it stirs my heart, and those do come along, I try to help.
Well, I think thanks for clearing that up, because I think often people on the outside, they have misconceptions about people all the time, about everybody. You like this and you like that, and you got this and you got that, and they don't know until you tell them what you
My
find
husband isn't well enough to write out a check, so he has trustees that guard his money.
Okay.
And we can go into that if you want.
No, we don't have the time. We got 3 minutes, right? So last week I asked Naledi Pondo, who was a guest here, I said, come on, give me a shout out to a young South African that is just wow. And she named Senamile Masango, who's a nuclear physicist, to say, what an impressive woman. And then we had her, because of that, we had on the show yesterday. So I'm going to give you the same opportunity, in fact, of giving a shout out to one person, young person, that is just wow.
You want me to give a shout out to somebody?
Yeah, someone that you know that I don't probably know.
I can very immediately say there's a young lady out there who is affecting change in communities, and her name is Kia van Ola. She is the daughter of Bridget. She has empathy. She assists with 67 blankets. She's got her own reach out projects, and she's a young counsellor. So Kia van Ola is somebody that I'm very, very proud to know.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I'm going to leave it to you to tweet out her name as well.
Okay.
With the picture and whatever else she's doing and her purpose, because we can share that. Absolutely do that, right? Is there a book you recommend that we need to be reading?
You should be reading 67 Blankets for Nelson Mandela Day, The Knitting and Crochet Revolution, which is out at Exclusive Books.
Okay, I've got the book here. You're going to sign it, so that's fab, right?
It's beautiful. I've been reading a lot of French books because I'm trying to improve my French. The laws of love, la loi de la vie, the laws of life and love. So it's books about giving and caring and empathy and philanthropy. Those are the things that
Wonderful.
attract me.
Last thing, your time's up. How would you like to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered the way I remember my mom, as someone very kind, because she grew up with nothing, having come from an orphanage. She would give and give and give. When she died, there was nothing left in her house, not even the kitchen curtains. I would like to be remembered the way I remember my beautiful mum, Yvonne Hazel Medzotti Barkhazen.
And that's why we say goodbye. The fireside chat is over. But we will chat off air, I'm sure, about that. Carolyn Stein, great chatting to you as always. A privilege, and I'm sure you are inspired. And really, that's the plan. How can we inspire you to think and to think of a life and a purpose bigger and greater than what you do already? If you want to say that we are the multipliers, well then, I'm certainly fine with that. We certainly want to build the champions, and we've certainly set the agenda for you to grow into this champion that we know you can be. That's the show. Let's get the news now. It's 6 o'clock. Here's Greg House.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. In this news update, latest from the Hlophe court case, and Kwaito legend passes away. Good evening. Lawyers representing MK Party member John Hlophe have described the case at the Western Cape High Court as an attitude of the racist section of society. The DA is asking the court to review and set aside his nomination by Parliament to be a member of the JSC. Advocate Dali Mpofu told the court that the application is nothing other than a racist approach.
For murder, rape, child molestation, and the works. And then they come out, and then 5 years later, they can be a member of Parliament and the president of this country. But no, not Dr. Hlophe. Because what? Why? Because some racist cabal has decided that he must be removed, permanently removed from society, as the apartheid generals used to say. It cannot be. And if